Welcome to MINDSHOCK. This is your host, Bruce McGuire, and we are tackling one of the greatest conspiracies in the history of television. The Gilmore Girls conspiracy. Is this the biggest Illuminati conspiracy to destabilize society to the point of complete collapse, using Hollywood to do so? Now, I can't say it's been the most requested conspiracy, but a random interwebs user practically dared me to do a complete logical analysis of the entire series, including the revival series, A Day in the Life. This individual, I don't know who they are, this anonymous individual on the internet, I could just tell from their message that they were expecting me to just throw in the towel immediately and not watch 8 seasons of a television show. But they don't know Bruce McGuire, do they? They do not know Bruce McGuire. So yes, since I exist outside of time and space and have no need for sleep, I watched all 8 seasons. And including another piece of media that only the die-hard fans know about that actually came out recently in this series. Now, I have to say, I was expecting extreme pain, but I was actually completely, utterly mind-shocked. Not by the quality of the show, mind you, but by the blowing of the whistle on themselves. I've never seen anything like this on television. I mean, the only other thing that could possibly come close is maybe Married with Children, but not really, because that's a completely different type of show. This is almost like a subversive psyop type of show, but it's like a psyop that reveals the psyop of the collapse of Western civilization and the psychology of normies, or what normies have become. So this is what it all comes down to, ladies and gentlemen. I believe the absolute collapse of Western civilization can be explained psychologically. If I could only pick one show, I might have to pick this one. And this leads me to question, was that anonymous individual that suggested I watch this show, did they know something? Was this some kind of CIA whistleblower that somehow got my attention? I mean, there is so much to unravel here. I'm not sure we could do it in one jumbo episode, but we might try. This might end up being a series. But prepare to have your mind absolutely shocked, because there's really no other show like this. And we're going to be taking not just a stroll down memory lane for this early 2000s, possibly the last stable era in Western civilization. But, yeah, the revival show perhaps even more telling and painful. Well, that one was actually kind of painful to watch. But the original 7 seasons actually weren't as bad. It's surprisingly well written. But, again, the subversiveness of it to the unsuspecting NPCs watching it. As the commentator, South to West in the chat saying, NPCs ate this stuff up in the early 2000s. But did they know what they were eating? That's the question that we will attempt to get to the bottom of in typical MINDSHOCK fashion, with logic and reason at the forefront, unlike any other podcast or mainstream or non-mainstream media out there attempting not to fall for any logical fallacies. If you want to help support the channel, help support logic and reason returning to a world which is quickly going extinct, with topics and deep dives that nobody else will touch, You can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. If you're not getting them, you can become a free patron on Patreon. Get all the notifications for all the lives and new episodes. You could also check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. You could also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the channel. That way, questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section. Or if you are with us here live, drop them in the live chat. So let me catch up with the live chat real quick. Then I'll give my general take, and then we will begin the biggest conspiratorial deep dive into this show that has ever been attempted. So, so my first comment in the chat was, is this the show that reveals the Illuminati plot to destabilize and destroy Western society more than any others? Flat Bob responded, yes it is. Vlad B responded, oh yeah. I'm not sure if he was just excited for this podcast or answering the question. Les Xylophone says, trash. My ex used to watch this and she was evil incarnate. Yeah, I'm gonna say this is not trash, not even close. Well, I don't know if I could say that for the revival, the revival series, but yeah, the first 7 seasons, I'm not gonna call it trash. It was actually surprisingly well written, and the dialogue was surprisingly witty. But the other reason I can't call it trash is it's because it's a self blow of the whistle to an extent I have never seen in mainstream media before or since. I mean, this is the feminist machine exposing itself, and I've never seen it. Never seen it done this way. Run Boston Bear says, this was my sister's all-time favorite show. Should I preview the conspiracy or go full send and shoot her a link? Why not? Shoot her a link. I'm not gonna trash talk the show. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm gonna have to say it's a good show. But not for the reasons that people think it is. Well, not for all the reasons that the people think it is. I do have to say, yeah, the writing, the dialogue was surprisingly witty. I was not expecting this level of witty dialogue. Kent Jose Mateo with the intro lyrics here. If you're out on the road feeling lonely and so cold, all you have to do is call my name. I'll be there on the next train. Flat Bob says, man, I feel like I'm in a time dilation or time warp or something. I could have sworn Bruce said 5 minutes. Yeah, YouTube's playing some games. A lot of these streams, we can't always start on time because I don't know what YouTube servers are doing. But, yeah, no, sometimes they just won't let you go live, or they won't let me arrange the clips that I want to arrange. So there's a lot of issues on that end. But we should be good. I mean, it should be all set right now, hopefully. I mean, if there's a stream that was going to get shut down, this might be one of them, too, because I'm not sure anybody's going to be prepared for this one. Okay. Jacqueline Claire Smith says, my family used to love this show. From memory, it pushes feminism and the indoctrination system pretty hard. Or does it appear to? Does it appear to? This is why I believe this show. I can't believe I'm saying this. I believe this show is brilliant. I believe this show is absolutely brilliant. And I'm not saying it's intentional brilliance, because the feminists that wrote this show, I think it might have been an unintentional blowing of the whistle. I believe it might have been unintentional, but the fact remains. The whistle was blown, and I will demonstrate how. Jacqueline Claire Smith says, I also remember the main characters were always eating insane amounts of junk food, and they were always proud about it. Yeah, it pushes gluttony like crazy. I mean, this show might push gluttony more than any other show, on several different levels. Both the elegant, classy gluttony of high society catering, and just high-class food, as well as junk food and fast food. I mean, you've never seen two individuals, two skinny, relatively skinny females. I don't know, Lorelai's kind of average, and Rory's pretty skinny. And they consume, there were frequent episodes where they're consuming both pizza and Chinese food and tacos. I mean, they're consuming 4 or 5 different types of takeout simultaneously. So it pushes gluttony like crazy. I mean, we'll get to that later. But what else is kind of interesting, it doesn't push promiscuity the way you would think. It's all quite interesting. I mean, I'm going to do a recap of the show. Plenty of spoilers. Heavy spoiler alert. I mean, there's just going to be oodles of spoilers here. We're going to spoil absolutely everything. So if you haven't watched the series and you're kind of interested, especially from my intro here, stop this right now and go watch it. If you're the type of person that, I mean, it's going to take a lot of hours. I mean, let me get the exact amount of episodes here. There's a lot. I mean, it took me quite some time to get through this. See, the problem is this anonymous individual that dropped down this gauntlet. When someone drops a gauntlet, like do a logical analysis deep dive on the entire Gilmore Girls series, including the revival series. See, normally I would just scoff at that, but just the fact that it was this much of a challenge, just looking at the poster of the show, because complete disclosure, I had heard of the show, I had seen the commercials for it, and had absolutely no desire to watch it whatsoever. The other issue is the name. When you call the show Gilmore Girls, you're going to alienate the entire male audience. And there's a lot to learn for the male audience. If they had, for example, called it Stars Hollow or something, I think it might have had a much bigger audience, maybe. But this is 8 seasons. It aired from 2000 to 2007. 153 episodes. I mean, the gauntlet was really thrown down for this one. Luckily, I exist outside of time and space. So I was able to make it through it relatively quickly. It had a fair amount of viewers, too. It averaged 3.8 mil an episode in Season 1, 5.63 mil in Season 2, and it looks like it peaked for Season 3, 5.81 mil average. And Season 4, 4.89. Well, it kind of recovered a little bit. 5.61 for Season 5, 5.28 for Season 6. And then back down to 4.38 mil for Season 7, which was still still more than Season 1. Interesting, okay. And then they were actually supposed to do an 8th season. Now, these are 21 to 22 episode seasons, as was the norm back then. They were actually going to do a limited 13 episode run. For a 13 episode run for, I think the audio is good now, 13 episode run for Season 8, which never happened. Then they did the revival series, A Year in the Life, which was 4 90-minute, or approximately 4 feature-length episodes, which was also an issue. This was in 2016. So this is 9 years. 9 years from the original series finale. Which is also, that's an interesting thing in Hollywood. Basically, the revival after a long period of time. Yes, plenty of fair use up in here, Flap Up. Fair use all the way. So yeah, as I said, if you really want to watch it all, I mean, it's going to take you a while. I mean, it's going to take you a while if you exist in time and space and need sleep. So if you're the type of person that really wants to watch it before looking at this conspiratorial breakdown, then yeah, you might want to stop this right here, because we're going into spoiler land. Clark Rice says, using your Maguire superpowers for the good of humanity. I mean, this, again, I've just never seen a self-blowing, unintentional self-blowing of the whistle. I do not believe this is revelation of the method. I think this was an unintentional self-blowing of the whistle. South to West says, my ex watched it religiously, almost in a trance, it seems. That's South to West said that. Les Xylophone says, mine would binge it and become brainwashed for sure. Here's the thing, though. What is the brainwashing message here? Les Xylophone says Shameless is a brainwasher as well. See, well, I'm not sure that show has any redeeming value. I've seen some brief clips of degeneracy in those episodes. Gilmore Girls, especially season 1, it was actually kind of wholesome. And that's why I believe this is a self-blowing of the whistle and possibly contains psychological clues for what went wrong in Western civilization and how and why it's all collapsing psychologically. Season 1 is actually a fairly wholesome show, other than the gluttony. Other than the pushing of the gluttony. So, okay. Truth Trollette says, full send, no holding it back, Bruce. Well, let me give you a little teaser. Kent, Jose, Mateo, we're going in order, so don't... We're going through all the spoilers, but we're doing it in order for the people who don't want to watch, haven't watched, but they still want to get it in order. Let's go. We're going to go in order, so... Do not post. I will be doing all the spoilers, people. Les Xylophone says Weeds was another show. I'm not sure I can handle that one. Flat Bob says no worries on the spoiler. I haven't and also don't plan on watching it. Okay. Flat Bob says, so if you exist outside of time and space, could you tell me what the number's going to hit the lottery? Also, does that make you AI? I can't tell the future, though. And no, I am not AI. Salt says, I only clicked on the stream because there's an American Dad episode about the show. Oh, is there really? Oh, I thought Family Guy might have done a skit too. Hold on, let me double check that. Finnegan says, Bruce, I will bravely say that I freaking love Gilmore Girls. Are you a male or a female, number one? Number two? I have to concur with you, but not necessarily for the reasons that you might. Yeah, I thought. Yeah, there were some random references in Family Guy as well, but yeah, let's stick with the main points here for now. Okay, so let me just set the stage here with a really quick fair use clip.
The club here at Yale. It's sort of a secret society, kind of skull and bones, kind of creepy group dating back to the 1800s. Skull and bones, 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 skull and bones.
Oh wow, I've been talking to myself this whole time. Okay, was there audio in the clip? Did everybody hear the audio in the clip? You couldn't hear my audio after. Okay, got it. Yeah, it should be fine now. So I know I said we were going to go in order. That's from when she got to college, but I just wanted to set the stage for what's coming here. because there are so many references here, pop culture references and otherwise. But one of the reasons I believe this show is so incredible is because I think it's classified as a dramedy, and it's basically a Greek tragedy of the modern era. So let's assume, again, just for the sake of argument, to keep this simple, we're not going to get into Tartaria Mudflood, although I do have a major, major episode coming up on that, which is going to connect all the pieces. And yeah, just a teaser there. But according to establishment Greek history, so they had, they did theatrical performances. Thespianism was born in ancient Greece, at least what it is, in terms of the theatrical play of what is known today. And wow, Les Alifon says, wait, that chick effed Santi in Bad Santa. Oh yeah, she was in Bad Santa, wasn't she? I totally forgot about that. Wow. Okay. So, yeah, this is a Greek tragedy, I believe, on the level of the best Greek tragedies in ancient Greece representative of their time period. This might be the best Greek tragedy of the modern era. And we will, of course, dissect all of it. So let's go through the brief synopsis, then we're going to go through a video that kind of summarizes some of these character arcs and what this is all about for people that don't know anything about this show. So just the quick synopsis here from Wiki. Gilmore Girls is an American comedy drama television series created by Amy Sherman Palladino, starring Lauren Graham and Alexis Bledel. The show debuted October 5th, 2000 on the WB and became a flagship series for the network. The show ran for 7 seasons, with the last being aired on the CW and ended on May 15th, 2007. Gilmore Girls received critical acclaim for its witty dialogue. Now, I have to say that is warranted. The dialogue was quite well written for the most part. Cross-generational appeal, and effective mix of humor and drama. It was a great success for the WB, peaking during season 5 as the network's second most popular show. The series has been in daily syndication since 2004. Oh, by the way, it also, there was a time period where it actually had higher ratings than Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is a whole nother can of worms. I will be examining that show as well. I don't think I could stomach watching it just because of all the satanic occult, Illuminati, cesspool, filth, degenerate nonsense in that show. But like I said, season 1 of this show, it's actually quite wholesome, and that's why it's such a tragedy on the remaining seasons. So, okay. The series has been in daily syndication since 2004, while a growing following has led it to its status as a 2000s American cult classic. Alright. In 2016, the original main cast and Sherman Palladino returned for the 4-part miniseries Revival, A Year in the Life. And that takes place 9 years after. So here's the premise. Gilmore Girls follows the lives of single mother Lorelai Gilmore, played by Lauren Graham, and her academically minded teenage daughter Lorelai Rory Gilmore, who live in the quaint fictional town of Stars Hollow, Connecticut. Lorelai dreams of owning her own inn, and Rory plans to attend Harvard University. So again, this is firmly a statist show, pushing the cult of authority worship, pushing indoctrination facilities, and the illusory prestige of the Ivy League indoctrination facilities. And this is all, see, part of the unintentional genius of the show. What I believe is the unintentional genius. Again, if there are any hardcore fans in here of the show that watched it in its original run, it would be interesting to hear from you. Because, again, like I said, I just watched all this recently, and I've never seen a single episode as part of the original run. Chin Chin in the chat saying, dude, my ex loved the show. I'm intrigued to see what's up. As you should be. As you should be. I mean, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. I always deliver the receipts, and this will be no different. Okay. So, okay, Run Boston Bear is back. All right. So, yeah, just going through the premise here. We got single motherhood. We got a massive push from the feminist machine, and the promotion of the bootlicking of the cult of authority worship and indoctrination facilities, particularly the Ivy League. So that's all here. And then, of course, the pushing of gluttony. But what's interesting, what makes it, other than the push of gluttony and the cult of authority worship, it's actually, season 1 is still relatively wholesome. And the character of Rory, there really hasn't been a character like that. Now, she's kind of like a goody two-shoes, book smart type kid. But there's a wit there, like a wit and a positive spirit. Now, will it or will it not get crushed? And if it does get crushed, how is it going to get crushed? We will get into all of that. But once again, I have to defend season 1 for it's still relatively wholesome. So the show's pilot introduces Lorelai's estranged wealthy parents, Emily and Richard Gilmore, whom Lorelai must approach for assistance in paying Rory's tuition to attend the prestigious Chilton Prep School. They agree to pay on the condition that Lorelai and Rory have dinner with them every Friday, which sets up one of the show's primary conflicts, as the Gilmores are now forced to face their differences and complicated past, including Lorelai's giving birth to Rory at the age of 16 with her then-boyfriend Christopher Hayden. So again, what we have here, it's a very basic premise of the classist divide. So basically, this woman leaves her very wealthy parents to raise her daughter alone. Interesting premise. It's been done before many times, but not quite like this. And the town, the Connecticut town of Stars Hollow, it's this quaint town with a lot of interesting characters that are all quite funny. And it's really well written, too. Now, there's a lot of missed opportunities here as well. I'll be getting into that. But that's the basic premise. So she goes through this prep school, and then she goes through college. And then in the revival, it's 9 years later, so she's 32-ish. So now let's go to the video of some of this arc here. Let's see if this does justice. If it doesn't do it justice, I'll play a second clip. Actually, just give me 1 second here. Okay, yeah, I'm going to play a little summary clip, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty. Actually, you know what? I'll play one more clip here. I forgot to play this clip, just to set the tone of the show, just so everybody knows what we're watching here. And for those who have no idea what I'm talking about or where all this is going, just bear with me. It's all gonna make sense by the end of this. So it is gonna. There's somewhat of a learning curve to get into the storyline and how it's gonna all reveal the Illuminati agenda, even if it did so unintentionally. So just the people that are saying this is all iffy, I totally get why you're thinking that, but just bear with me to the end of this podcast.
One of us has got to do laundry tonight.
Why?
Because I haven't had any clean underwear for 3 days.
So right now under your skirt you're wearing...
Not underwear.
Mom!
It's kind of nice, actually. Breezy.
My role model, ladies and gentlemen.
How come you haven't run out yet?
I don't know. I guess I have more underwear than you.
That's not true. You have less. Have you been doing laundry without me?
No?
Rory?
Okay, one load.
Oh, and you didn't even ask if I had stuff to throw in?
It was a big load. There wasn't any room.
I'm crushed. I'm bleeding. Get me a tourniquet. Oh, no, they're dirty because Rory wouldn't wash them with her stuff.
I'm sorry. I'll do another load tonight, I promise.
Never mind. I'll do my own laundry.
Fine, even better.
I hate doing laundry. Maybe
Like I said, this is all gonna make sense at the end of all of this. Fernigan says, making Rory such a Hillary Clinton head is extremely on the nose, gets very grating. Again, I think all of it is just so revealing of the Illuminati agenda. And what's unique about this show is I actually think it's very possible it was all unintentional. Chin Chin says, what WTF? Well, anyway, let's finish this clip just so everybody knows what kind of show it is. Then it's just so weird, but for people that say, like, if there was a single scene that encapsulated the type of show this is, this would be the clip. So fair use up in the house here, nothing but fair use.
I'll just buy new underwear.
And flutter, 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 and leaves. Where are my leaves? I got pumpkins, I got pilgrims, I got no leaves.
Every other store in town has fall decorations.
Well, hurrah for the mob mentality.
We're talking a few streamers and a paper turkey. How is it going to hurt to have a paper turkey?
No turkeys, no squash, no pumpkins. Nothing colored orange.
Okay, so you don't like orange. That's fine. Autumn has many varied hues to toy with.
In the chat here, Chin Chin says, terrible mother. I'm going to argue. She was actually an outlier single mom for a few different reasons, and I think she was actually a pretty good, all things considered, single mom up until a single point in time, which I will go over on all of this. And again, very, very telling, and basically the feminist machine blowing the whistle on itself in this Greek tragedy. But let's finish this scene and then we'll go through the synopsis, the video synopsis.
Excuse me, could we get some coffee, please?
And a muffin?
Warmed?
This is the Autumn Festival. Your shop is right across the street from the Horn of Plenty. You're right smack dab in the middle of everything. You have to decorate.
I don't have to do anything but serve food.
And coffee!
And muffins.
Taylor, I'm tired of having this conversation with you every year.
You have lived in Stars Hollow for a long time, young man. It's time you became one of us.
Woo!
Sorry, I guess my pod's defective.
Hey, my mom's not wearing any underwear.
Everybody hear the black helicopters? Saw a whole bunch of black helicopters. They did not want this episode coming out. Wow. Anyway, the so yes, this is the type of show that this is. The dialogue is quite interesting. The other thing that it kind of pushes is obviously caffeine addiction through coffee. Their coffee addiction. And what's funny, Luke's character at the beginning, the guy in the baseball hat and the flannel, he actually was trying to help them by saying how dangerous all this stuff is and how unhealthy it is, but they just never listened to him. But anyway, let's continue. It looks like the black helicopters are all gone. They don't want the truth of this revealed.
Sorry, I guess my pod's defective.
Hey, my mom's not wearing any underwear. Hey, my mom's not wearing any underwear. Hey, my mom's not wearing any underwear. Well, you aren't.
You're just being selfish, Luke.
Still, I don't notice. Can't take it anymore.
We're talking about the spirit of fall.
What kind of muffin do you want?
Blueberry.
You know where you can stick the spirit of fall? Here, don't use your hands.
Alright, I'm gonna reveal a spoiler for the spoiler here. So look at the sense of entitlement. So Lorelai thinks, so again, she is friends with the diner owner, Luke here. They're casual friends kind of at this point in time. But they don't get what they want, and the entitlement is so severe that she thinks she can just go behind the counter and do whatever she wants, and then he enables it, which is another issue with his character. And just so people kind of know what's coming, that little teaser, I think, again, the feminist machine exposing itself through this show, like, I've never seen anything quite like this, but this will set the stage here. And again, like I said, the dialogue is kind of funny, and a lot of the jokes are kind of funny, so it actually wasn't as painful to get through as I thought it would be, although A Day in the Life kind of was.
I don't think you're taking me seriously.
What gave you that idea? No tip?
Oh, yeah, here's a tip. Serve your customers.
Here's another. Don't sit on any cold benches. Taylor, I swear to God, if you pull those pilgrims out of your pocket one more time...
I'm just doing it for you.
And yeah, she didn't even pay. Wow. But yeah, Flat Bob will catch you next time. This might be a series, so you might be able to join us live again for the next episode. There's so much to go over here, but that kind of sets the stage for the tone of the show. So let's go through the video summary now.
Meet Rory Gilmore and her mom, Lorelai. We call them the Gilmore Girls. They live in a little town called Stars Hollow. More on that in a bit. Lorelai runs an inn with Michelle and her best friend Suki. Rory's starting at a new school. It's big, a little scary, and hard, even for Rory, who is super smart. But it costs a lot, which means Lorelai has to make peace with her wealthy parents, who she's been avoiding for years. And that means having dinner every Friday night. It's awkward. You keeping up? Back to Stars Hollow. Lots of good folks live here. Luke owns the diner. Miss Patty teaches dance. Taylor runs the grocery and the town. Oh, that's me, Kirk. I've got a lot of jobs, including reading this. Anyway, a lot happens.
one of the really I mean, this show is more interesting, complex, and deep than basically it has any right to be on the surface with its title. I mean, just the amount of people in the town with all of their unique personalities. There's so much there, and they could have done even much more than they did. Kirk is one of the few characters that actually did get explored properly. They kind of missed the boat and underutilized a lot of the other town folk. But yeah, this video summary is on Film Is Now Movies channel, posted it. This actually might be, I don't know if this was the official Netflix summary or not, but yeah. Anyway, let's continue here. If anybody has any questions about the plot, I'll get to that, and then we'll get into the arcs and deep dives.
Fast talking, first kisses, second kisses, coffee, more coffee, faster talking, mother-daughter fights, produce fights, hugs, wallowing, very fast talking, a proposal, the bangles. Got all that? Like I said, we move fast around here.
And we're back. Where were we? Oh, right, proposal. Lorelai said yes. Yellow daisies for everyone. Luke said, ugh. But when it's time for the wedding, Lorelai calls it quits. Sorry, Max. Mother and daughter road trip. Still with us? This is Jess. He's Luke's nephew. His mom shipped him to Stars Hollow because he can be, well, trouble. It's going great. Rory's with Dean, but Jess likes Rory. And he's going to make a move. Picnic basket. Angry Dean. Hey, they both love books. Lorelai doesn't like it. Then Jess and Rory get into a car accident. Broken wrist, total car, angry mom, and Jess moves to New York. Crazy, right? Graduation. Parents are proud. But Rory misses the ceremony because Jess. We end our season with another wedding. This one sticks. Lorelai and Chris reunite for about 5 minutes, and Rory and Jess, well, a lot more goes down. Rory makes her debut to society. I make my debut to filmmaking, modeling, spa day, anger, lots of anger this season. Shakespeare, horse-drawn sleighs, a hoopa for the front yard. Got all that? On to season 3. Here we go. Rory went to D.C. for the summer. Jess found a girl for the summer. Uh-oh. Lorelai's still stuck on Chris. But then she has a dream about Luke. Oh, hey, Stars Hollow has a dance marathon. I'm a 4-time champion. 24 hours of dance, 2 guys watching Rory, 1 very public breakup. Bye, Dean. Hello, Rory and Jess, again. And hello, babies. 1 for Christopher, 1 for Suki and Jackson. But wait, there's more.
And, yeah, you'll see a lot of familiar faces here. This is Melissa, what's her name? Melissa McCarthy. I almost said MacArthur. No relation to the former president. Melissa McCarthy, this was one of her first roles. Again, the self-blowing of the whistle of this feminist Illuminati machine, like never before seen in any other show. We'll get to all that, but here on the surface, I mean, everything seems kind of relatively standard. Les Xylophone says I could totes watch shows like this. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to go over. I don't want to spend too much time just on the plot, but this overview is kind of important just to kind of get the gist of what's going on.
Lorelai repays her parents for Chilton. Our Friday night dinner's over. Then the Independence Inn burns down. But Lorelai's buying a new one with the help of her parents. Hello again, Friday night dinners, my old friends. Back to Rory. She got into Harvard and Yale and Princeton. She picked Yale. What else? 1 big graduation party, 1 big fight, 1 big breakup. Bye, Jess.
Let me just chime in here on the classist part of all of this. Her grandparents actually went to Yale, and there's a couple turning points in the show that are going to be critical for understanding psychology, and just the widespread narcissism that occurs in the West, particularly among feminists, which again, this is why I believe this is all the biggest self-blow of the whistle that I've ever seen. And it actually might all be unintentional. It really might be, I don't know. So her grandparents, they're the rich ones, so just a quick recap. Lorelai, when she was 16, she left home and moved to Stars Hollow and was living in some kind of shack in the back of a hotel while being a maid and raising her daughter by herself without the help of her parents. Rory's grandparents, which are super rich, they went to Yale. So they basically influence her to, Rory to a certain extent, to go to Yale again, and her mom doesn't want that for her, because her dream was to go to Harvard, again, indoctrination facility, and all of the statist scientism bootlicking of the occult. That aside, that was kind of a major issue, because at the very beginning, I'll get into this after the recap and the character arcs that we're going to go over. There are certain turning points here, and they're very, very relevant to basically the absolute destruction of such an incredible, promising human being that Rory's character was at the beginning of the series. And pinpointing these lines in the sand, so to speak, is actually very interesting, and it could perhaps be done in this show better than any other, partially because of how long it ran, but also because of the self-blowing of the whistle.
Four Thanksgivings, Lane's band, Lane's Dave, a soda shop, the world's largest pizza, a new girl for Luke, a new man for Lorelai, another engagement, and one big graduation speech, and off to college.
College years, Europe, check. First day of Yale, check. First day of Yale mother-daughter sleepover, check. Meet Rory's roommates, Jock, Prodigy, and Paris, fun. Rory and Paris join Yale Daily News with editor-in-chief Doyle. This is Marty, he lost his clothes. This is Asher, Paris's professor. There's the Yale-Harvard game, football, Fun Flask, and Penn Lot. Back to Stars Hollow. The Dragonfly Inn is underway. The Dragonfly Inn is expensive. The Dragonfly Inn is open. Suki and Jackson have a Davy. Luke gets married and divorced. Dean's married too. It's okay. And guess who's back? He brought his mom. She brought her TJ, and they're getting married. Renaissance style. What else? This is Jason, Richard's new partner. He's Lorelai's new partner too. It's going great until Richard betrays Jason, and Jason sues Richard. Goodbye, Jason. Hello, Luke. Aw, finally, guys. We're not done yet. The first Lorelai leaves us, and Emily leaves Richard. Rory becomes ice cream queen. Lane moves in with Hep Alien. Is that a new guitarist? I meet Lulu, get night terrors, and become Jesus in the Festival of Living Art. Oh, hey, Rory's love life. Does Jess get another chance? Nope. Does Mary Dean? Yep. Uh-oh. This is getting crazy. On to season 5.
Is everybody still following here? I mean, the amount of fair use that occurs is kind of crazy. Finnegan says, Bruce, you gotta answer the classic Gilmore Girls question. Who was Rory's best boyfriend? I'll answer that as soon as we go over all of that. I Am Iron's Cat says, so you're saying that the show is inserting the regularly scheduled programming? Yes. Can you expand on that question? What do you mean? Yes, it's the normal indoctrination, but there's a very obvious self-blow on the whistle across the board. So it's not obvious in small pieces, but it's obvious across the entire series.
Where were we? Rory and Emily, Europe. Richard, pool house. Luke and Lorelai, first date. Now it's official. Seriously, we made charts. Rory writes a Dean letter. Lindsay finds the Dean letter. Guess how that goes. Hello, Rory and Dean. Back at Yale, meet Logan Huntsberger. He's rich and won't stop calling Rory Ace. Oh, did we mention Paris and Doyle? Yep, Paris and Doyle. Richard and Emily team up for Operation Bye Dean. Fancy party, fancy men, all for Rory. Not fancy Dean, angry Dean. Oh, hey, Logan. Poor Dean. Poor Marty. Emily's not done yet. Luke comes to Friday night dinner. Not good. Sherry leaves Christopher. Not good. And Emily's got a plan. Not good. Are those wedding bells? Richard and Emily are back. Let's celebrate. Chris makes a move. Logan does too. New couple alert, breakup alert, makeup alert. Rory's an intern for Logan's father, who tells Rory she doesn't have it. She gets upset, steals a yacht, drops out of Yale, and moves into the pool house, angry Lorelai. What else? Panic room, politics, Pippi Longstocking, more Lulu, Norman Mailer, pregnant Suki, book sniffing, Miss Patty's Punch, Gogo Yubari, the Twickham House, the Life and Death Brigade, and what do you know, a proposal. Here we come, season 6. do you know? A proposal. Here we come, season 6. Room, politics, Pippi Longstocking, more Lulu, Norman Mailer, Pregnant Suki, book sniffing, Miss Patty's Punch, Go-Go Bari, the Twickham House.
Now, the life and death. So again, this show, like I said, this show is quite deep and complex, almost like it has almost more than it has any right to be. I mean, the show was actually pretty deep. So the Life and Death Brigade was actually another secret society at Yale, and it was actually quite interesting. It was basically they all dressed up in Victorian era dress, but with gorilla masks when they were kind of covering up their escapades. And that's one of the only scenes I actually kind of liked in the revival. But I mean, look at this gem here. Look at this gem of writing here. People can live 100 years without really living for a minute. They just mix those things in here. I mean, obviously the show could have been so much better and even deeper, but what's there already is quite a lot. There's a lot here, and it's very revealing. I don't want to say about human nature like a Greek tragedy, but about the Illuminati feminist machine specifically. And I mean, that's why I'm doing this expose on this almost unintentional, maybe completely unintentional self-blow of the whistle on the Illuminati feminist machine. And the cesspool spiral Western civilization has been in, and why psychologically, which we'll get to once we finish going over all of this.
Life and Death Brigade, and what do you know? A proposal. Here we come, season 6. Season 6, Engagement, Zima. Rory traded Yale for a pool house in the DAR, plus 300 hours of community service. Felon party. Lorelai gets Paul Anka, not the real Paul Anka. This is the real Paul Anka. Rory turns 21. Have you had a Rory? Jess returns. He wrote a book. Logan gets mean. Jess gets real. Rory's home. Lorelai sets a date and finds the perfect dress. Luke got a soccer team and a daughter. Shh, she's a secret. Until Lorelai finds out. Wedding postponed. Rory's back at Yale and moves in with Paris and Doyle. The paper boycotts Paris. Rory becomes editor and homeless. Hello, Logan's apartment. Luke and April take a field trip. Sad Lorelai. Chris needs help with Gigi, evil Gigi. And Lorelai brings Chris to a wedding. Lane's wedding. 2 ceremonies and a wild reception, especially for Lorelai. Rory visits Jess in Philly. They do this. But Rory runs back to Logan, who goes full Life and Death Brigade and gets seriously hurt. Jackson grows drugs, I get a bunch of jobs, Troubadour invasion, Gilmore godparents, Doggy Swami, and a Gilmore Huntsberger face-off. Logan's off to London. Luke and Lorelai are, well, off. Hi, Christopher? Time for season 7. Season 7, we made it! Lorelai and Christopher? Oh no. Luke and Lorelai? Oh no. Logan's off to London. He gave Rory a rocket because true love. Lane and Zach are pregnant. Twins. Is that Mrs. Kim moving in? What about me? I'm living in a box and running into Luke's diner. Luke's running into Christopher's face. Ouch. Richard's teaching at Yale. Emily goes to jail. And Rory's making new friends. This one's dating Marty. Like still in love with Rory, Marty? Weird. Lorelai and Christopher make it official and take Gigi to France and get married in France. Told you it was official. Angry Rory. Luke wants equal custody of April. And guess who's helping him get it? We just can't keep these guys apart. Lorelai writes a letter for Luke's case. Chris wasn't really into the whole, once Luke Danes is in your life, he's in your life forever part. Oh, hey, Suki. Suki's in a mood. Suki's pregnant? Jackson's in trouble. Richard has a heart attack. Hospital. Surgery. Logan. Helicopter. Luke. Of course. Chris? Where's Chris? This isn't working, is it? Bye, Christopher. Rory's graduation. Big party. Big song and dance. Big Logan proposal. Big no. Rory's got other plans. To the campaign trail. But first she gets a giant farewell from the town. Bon voyage, Rory. But hey, before we leave, one kiss for the road and one more morning at Luke's. That's all, folks. See you in November.
And yeah, this was the Obama campaign trail that the show left on. And okay. Truth Trollette says Zima Vomit. What does that mean? What is Zima? Zima is a drink. I am not a drinker, so I don't know any of the names of any drinks. Okay. Alright, so that's the first 7 seasons in a nutshell. And just to kind of expand, like, this whole entire series is almost like an unintentional cautionary tale of what happens when the nuclear family is disrupted. So just quick background points here. Christopher, the Rory's father and the man that Lorelai eventually marries here, he actually wanted to marry Lorelai when they got pregnant. So it's interesting to wonder how everything would have turned out if she had just gotten married instead of going full feminist mode and leaving to raise her daughter alone, right? But there's an even further cautionary tale here. I'm not going to reveal it all right now until we get through these arcs here. But, yeah, they are quite fascinating. Let's do a quick recap of the revival series.
I'm not gonna
Yeah, I was just getting the next clip ready. This is the Paste magazine recap of the first feature length. It's divided into seasons, so this is winter. The first one, this is the 2016 revival recap here. Fair use, obviously.
I'm not gonna lie, I worried for a few months about whether the Gilmore Girls reboot was going to be amazing or if it was going to be like that last season that shall not be named. Turns out, it was amazing. The 4 seasonal episodes of the Gilmore Girls started with, you got it, winter, because that's what Carole King said in the song. The town looks exactly the same, yet completely updated, and Rory is home for one day visiting. Of course, as updated as the town is, Rory still can't get cell phone coverage, so she has to go to Dosey's Market, where she runs into her bestie Lane. Caesar is still working at Luke's, and of course, Luke is still running his diner and Lorelai still smells snow. Rory had so much hope and promise in her life when the Gilmore Girls ended. I mean, she was going for the hope and change candidate, President Barack Obama. She's had some success, including an article in the New Yorker, which Luke has added to the menu. But she's struggling in a way that anyone who writes or produces video for a living can understand. She wants a job at Condé Nast, but nothing is happening. She has no place to live. She's just wandering from place to place, and she has a boyfriend named Paul, but she forgets about him, Lorelai forgets about him, he's just ridiculous. She's supposedly been with him for a year, but I gotta tell you, this makes no sense. No Gilmore girl would stay with a man this boring or annoying for a whole year. Rory would, however, take up stress tap dancing, and Luke and Lorelai would have serious conversations about the Lifetime movie network. Of course, this first episode also had to deal with the tragic death of Richard, which is mirrored in real life because Edward Herman passed away. Emily has dealt with it by hiring a family of new servants to live with her and commissioning a huge painting of Richard for the wall. The whole family of servants living in the house is beyond weird, and so not Emily. I guess we chalk this up to Richard being gone, but it just makes no sense when she had a different maid every single week for Friday night dinner to now have a whole family just running through the house. And Emily is upset with Lorelai, because some things never change. But this time it's with good reason. Apparently, Lorelai couldn't come up with a good story about her dad at the funeral. Emily hasn't seen her in 4 months because of it. At the Friday night dinner, Luke shows up because Kirk's Uber failed, and Emily tells Lorelai that she is too pushy, and that maybe Luke wanted to have kids. At which point we realize we haven't seen one character from the past, Luke's daughter. Where is she? Also, they keep trying to explain away Suki. It just falls flat. The backstory is completely unbelievable. Anyway, back to Lorelai and Luke having a baby. They discuss that she's too old, and so they decide to turn to surrogacy. And the surrogacy center is run by none other than attorney/Dr. Paris Geller. She's married to Doyle, and he is now behind famous TV shows. Just like the man who plays Doyle's character, Danny Strong. He's behind really famous shows, including Empire. Of course, Rory is traveling the world, doing book pitches and writing, and she ends up in London. She's told her mom she stays with her friend Dee Dee, but it turns out that Dee Dee is a code name for Logan. I have always been Team Logan. This was the most exciting moment in the episode for me. She's sleeping with him in a weird what happens in London stays in London scenario. It's sad. She started her sex life by cheating with Dean, and now she's sleeping with Logan and lying to her mother and still in a relationship with boring Paul. Luke and Lorelai decide not to have a baby, but Lorelai inadvertently agrees to therapy with her mother. Of course, this is what they've always needed, especially now that Emily is wearing jeans and a Candies t-shirt. There were a few bumps in the road in this episode, but all in all, fans of the Gilmore Girls will not be disappointed. Okay, I'm a little skeptical of Lorelai ever going to therapy and it kind of working. But I will say this, it does give her a great chance to annoy her mother. Maybe instead of traditional therapy, they should just schedule a meeting with Mrs. Kim. She'd set them right on the straight and narrow. In the episode Spring, Taylor has organized an international foods festival. But of course, they don't have all the nations represented. It's a very typical Taylor-led debacle, but people still have a great time. Except for those of us watching Jackson make more lame-o excuses about where Suki is. Seriously, either let her be in the episodes or don't, but this little halfway bit, ugh, not interested. Rory is back in London working on a children's book / biography for that crazy British lady. But I can't help but think the real reason she's there is so she can be with Logan. The two have lunch, and there shows up Logan's dad. And as usual, he offers to give Rory a hand at Condé Nast. But seriously, why would she want his help? She pretty much brushes him off, but you can tell it's kind of in the back of her mind that she might have to call him. Then we find out that Logan isn't just a playboy anymore, and Rory isn't the only one cheating. Logan's actually engaged to an heiress named Odette. Rory, I know you're still into Logan, and I totally get that, but surely there's a single guy out there. You can tell her feelings for Logan are still real because she offers to stay in London for a few more days. But he turns her down because Odette's going to be there sleeping with him that night. Back in Stars Hollow, Luke gets invited to a private dinner with Emily, and Lorelai, of course, tags along. The reason he was invited? It turns out Luke was included in the will for Richard, and he's left him a whole bunch of money, but only for one purpose: to expand Luke's diner empire. Some dreams never die, even when you're dead. Emily's so excited to fulfill Richard's dream that she actually picks Luke up from Stars Hollow with the best realtor and takes him around to look at properties. Since Rory had to leave London because Logan doesn't have room in his bed right now, she goes to Chilton with Paris for like an alumni weekend. The two get into a fight in the bathroom with Francie just like old times, and I don't get the feeling that anyone at Chilton would be super friendly to Paris, except that she's donated $100,000. Money talks, and it buys you friends. While there, Headmaster Charleston suggests that Rory get a master's degree and come back and be a teacher at the school. That sounds like a good idea, but at this point, we know Rory's not into good ideas. She turns him down, and then she calls Logan to call in the favor from his dad. In the meantime, she loses her book pitch deal with the crazy British lady and calls up Condé Nast to do a spec piece about people who wait in line in New York City. The lines for Cronuts are a mystery. She takes her mom along for the research and ends up having a one-night stand with a Wookiee. Nothing against furries, but it just doesn't seem like Rory to sleep with one. Rory's just so lost. It's not what we wanted or expected from Rory. We expected her to do everything just perfectly. And it turns out perfect is an illusion. She hates the piece she's writing for Condé Nast, and so she decides to try for the job at Sandy Says, a small digital media news site. And they don't want her either, so the only thing left for Rory to do is move home. In typical Gilmore Girls style, there's tons of witty dialogue going on and lots of storyline, but you can't help but feel that the real thrust of this special is that Rory is lost and trying to find her way. I think Rory probably needs a turn at the therapist. Summer's a month to vacation and kind of a throwaway time. You don't work as hard. And that's how I felt about this episode of Gilmore Girls. Just it was throwaway. Winter and spring gave me so much hope and excitement for where the story was going to go, and then summer came along and ruined everything. There were some high points, like when Rory decides she's going to resurrect the Stars Hollow Gazette instead of just wasting her time with the 30-something gang. And we finally get to see Jess, and he's just as encouraging and helpful as he always is. He's always pushing Rory to be better. He plants the seed that she should write a book, which is really the best idea that she could have been given. Plus, he prints books, so this makes total sense. The book is a great idea, except Lorelai forbids her to write it, and the two get in a fight and basically break up. And we get to hear Sutton Foster sing, and at the end of the episode, it was just the most beautiful song. I bet that sells a lot on iTunes. And that takes up about 25 minutes of the episode. The rest of the episode, well, ugh. Michelle's feeling antsy, and he tells Lorelai that he's going to quit working at the Dragonfly. Boo. Logan and Rory do not reconcile. He doesn't dump Odette, and so that ends badly. And Emily's still not happy with Richard's headstone. When they started the musical storyline, I thought, oh good, this is where we get to see Sutton Foster, and maybe she's going to become Lorelai's new best friend to kind of replace Suki or fill in that gap. Wrong. They're just going to have Sutton Foster sing a terrible, tailor-made Stars Hollow musical over and over again for 25 minutes. Here's a reenactment of me. It serves no purpose except for there to be this really heart-wrenching song at the end of the episode that makes Lorelai go on a wild adventure. Summer was a waste of time if you were looking for, I don't know, storyline or plot. Better to just skip ahead straight to fall. I guess the Paladinos just wanted us to know that like mother, like daughter is more than just a saying. It's real. The summer episode was so boring, and then in the fall episode, it's like they packed in every single detail they could. It was more like the first two episodes, full, meaningful, and the storyline meant something, even if it left us a little, well, wanting. Lorelai is gone to do her wild pilgrimage because she needs to figure things out. And everyone says she's doing the book pilgrimage, which makes no sense. I've never seen Lorelai read. She would definitely do the Reese Witherspoon movie one. But it actually worked enough for me to consider taking one of those trips. While she's overlooking the vista, she remembers the wonderful memory about her father and calls Emily to fix their relationship. It's perfect, and then she goes home early to tell Luke that things are okay, and he interrupts her and tells her how much he loves her and how she's everything to him. I wanted to die right there, except then I would miss part of Luke and Lorelai's relationship. Finally, they're going to give Emily and what the rest of us wanted. They're going to get married. Lorelai and Luke's storyline made me love the writers a lot. Lorelai's in her 40s, but she's finally stable. It's what we always wanted for her. Unfortunately, it looks like Rory is the same unsettled mess that Lorelai was like when we first met her when the show started. Rory is depressed without Logan, her mom, and all of a sudden, here comes the Life and Death Brigade to cheer her up. Logan's come back from London and they have this whirlwind evening where the guys buy a club and they wear costumes. It seemed like the perfect night out. In fact, if anyone ever wants to take me out on a night like that, the answer will definitely be yes. Rory had ended things with Logan. She was upset, but it felt like she was moving on. Now he's come back to muddy the waters. Nothing's changed. He hasn't left Odette. He just wanted one more night with Rory, and she went with it. Jess is back for Lorelai and Luke's wedding, and you can tell that he still has feelings for Rory, and Logan's gone, so why can't she just be Team Jess now? It's like Christopher, Luke, and Lorelai Part 2. Which, speaking of, we finally see Christopher, and Rory seems very upset when she's speaking to him. It feels like more than just research for her book, but you can't be sure. She just seems very upset. It's a really awkward, odd conversation. Luke and Lorelai decide to have a secret wedding before the real wedding, and it feels like a wonderland. It's just everything. Their midlife crisis ended in a marriage and a happily ever after. It's just exactly what we wanted. And Emily's storyline? I love that she ends up a docent in Nantucket. It's perfect for her. But as great as everything seems for Lorelai and Emily, things for Rory are just a hot mess. I don't know why they had to take the storyline in this direction. We all had high hopes for her. She had the best education. She had the best start in life. They could have made her a success. And which brings us to those last 4 words. Spoiler alert. Seriously, if you don't want to know what the last 4 words are, stop watching now. How could this even be? That's something that happens to 16-year-olds, not 32-year-olds, and certainly not to Rory. But all of a sudden, the discussion with Christopher makes total sense. She was wondering if she should just raise this baby that Gogan is presumably the father of alone. And now they've opened the door that Jess is still really into her. If this was the end of a season, I would not be so annoyed because I would know we're going to see more and this will be their next storyline. That's not the case. They acted like this was the ending, the final season that they always wanted to do, and that they always knew what the final 4 words would be. The final 4 words were just to mess with us? For all the closure I'm happy about with Lorelai and Emily, this storyline with Rory just left me feeling really undone.
Okay. Yeah, that was just the recap of the revival. Quite an in-depth recap. So, yeah, quite interesting. The revival, the 2016 revival was kind of a train wreck. And, I mean, there was no chemistry basically with any of the actors. And Lauren Graham, I don't know if that's just a ton of Botox or whatever, but she looked kind of weird. And anyway, I think it actually all makes sense within the scope of the entire series, which I will explain shortly. Chin Chin says, I never thought I would ever learn this much about Gilmore Girls. We're just getting started. So we're going to get into the conspiracy. It's just, we can't get into it until all the plot points and character arcs are laid out. So we just have one more video, and then we're going to get to it.
I've always done what's asked of me. Done what's asked of me.
It's not always good enough to do just what's asked of you.
When Gilmore Girls first aired, Rory Gilmore was a unicorn. She was the rare teenage girl character who always had her nose in a book and was super close with her mom.
She's my best friend.
But this wasn't framed as uncool. It was aspirational.
I want to go to Harvard and study journalism and political science.
On your way to being...
Christiane Amanpour.
It's safe to say that most who watched the original series imagined that after Rory's graduation from Yale, her arc would only continue its upward trajectory.
This is the YouTube channel The Take. With this video, it's titled Rory, the OG Annoying Millennial. And this will start our conspiratorial deep dive.
Towards Rory becoming the next Amanpour. So it came as a surprise when, in 2016's Gilmore Girls revival, A Year in the Life, the young Miss Gilmore hadn't exactly become a raging success.
I have no job. I have no credit. I have no underwear.
Instead, she was a portrait of a faltering millennial.
The whole journalism thing didn't really pan out the way I hoped.
If you look closer though, the original series holds clues as to what went wrong for Rory. Everyone in Rory's life is constantly in awe of how smart and cultured she is.
Rory, you are tailor-made for Harvard. They're lucky to have you.
And as the show progresses, Rory seems to believe her own hype. She bristles whenever something doesn't come easy for her. She becomes increasingly entitled and arrogant.
So I spent a night in jail. Big deal. So did Martin Luther King.
Are you comparing yourself with Martin Luther King?
She's so convinced she's the main character in her story that she justifies some pretty dubious behavior, like having affairs with married and engaged men. Plus, for a person who prides herself on being an achiever, in her 30s, she displays a terrible work ethic.
Sorry, I just didn't have a pitch prepared.
That's a little weird. Thought you'd bring some ideas.
On closer inspection, Rory embodies a lot of the realities of millennial white privilege. But unlike some of her peers, she remains
obviously this YouTube channel, The Take, had to throw in some woke nonsense. Obviously, it's just class privilege. Obviously, people of any color that are extremely wealthy and well-connected are going to be getting into these schools and having these opportunities. So, yeah, big L for The Take there, with just pushing the whole race-baiting nonsense. But anyway, let's continue.
staunchly in denial of the fact that she's not a scrappy underdog.
Whether you like it or not, you're one of us. You went to prep school. You go to Yale. Your grandparents are building a whole damn astronomy building in your name.
Here's our take on what Rory's failures teach us about the importance of forging your own path and taking responsibility for your mistakes early on. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified about all our new videos. The wine world can often seem closed off and easy thanks to Gilmore Girls is about a millennial's coming of age, years before the modern portrait of millennials would come to be defined through endless think pieces about avocado toast and the self-mocking humor of shows like Girls, Broad City, and Search Party.
Working feels bad and I don't ever want to work one more day in my entire life. Oh my god, it feels so good to say that.
As Tara Seathram writes in The Atlantic, Rory's experiences mirrored or even foreshadowed what would become the defining challenges of her upper middle class fictional peers a decade later, from handling the privilege of choice to grappling with a false sense of entitlement.
This is all your fault, you know? Why? Because you told me I could do anything.
So what are these traits that millennials are supposed to embody? Inc.'s Bill Murphy Jr. breaks it down into a whopping 17 bad habits. But the ones that crop up again and again are entitlement, sensitivity to criticism, being out for themselves, and wanting to be entrepreneurial without actually understanding what it takes to get there. Rory's sense of entitlement is deep-rooted, a result of both her privileged background and the expectations put upon her.
Harvard.
Yeah. Ever since she could crawl, I really wanted her to go there.
A lot of the narrative about annoying millennials is really about white, upper middle class millennials.
Miss Rory Gilmore, may I present your building?
When Rory doesn't get an internship at the New York Times, her grandparents can't fathom a reason why she may not have been accepted.
This is preposterous. Who could be more qualified than you?
They were so confident she'd get the role that they already planned on buying her an apartment in the city.
Now, we realize that the Upper East Side is not the most convenient address for an employee at the New York Times, but it's just a 20-minute cab ride to work.
Her grandparents also display a distinct lack of self-awareness by suggesting Rory's failure to land the role is down to nepotism.
I'm sure it's nepotism. If your name isn't Keller or Sulzberg, you may as well not even apply.
Conveniently forgetting their own nepotism in helping Rory get into both Chilton and Yale.
I thought I was helping my granddaughter get into what is, in my opinion, the best Ivy League school in America.
Meanwhile, down-to-earth Lorelai doesn't model this entitled attitude, but she has placed a lot of pressure on Rory by constantly underlining her daughter's specialness.
And if you see a teen walking around with a halo and a book, that's my daughter, Rory.
As much as Lorelai is framed as the unusual best friend mom, like many parents of millennials, she has centered her own life around cultivating her daughter's education and individual success.
Everything we worked for, all these years, her whole future. She was supposed to have more than me. She was supposed to have everything.
Gilmore Girls begins with Lorelai making the choice to do what's best for her daughter and tap into the source of privilege her parents represent.
I wasn't too proud to come here to you two begging for money for my kid's school, was I?
The first season centers on Rory entering private school and cultivating a relationship with her wealthy grandparents. And we watch her gradually develop into the person Emily and Richard wanted Lorelai to become. Hence Emily's blind panic after she finds out Rory and Dean spent the night at Miss Patty's.
She's gonna get pregnant.
No, she's not.
She's gonna ruin everything just like you ruined everything.
But who is this model young lady they want Rory to be really? It's someone who runs to them for help after she gets arrested for stealing a yacht.
She came to me, Lorelai. She told me what she wanted in her own words.
And goes behind her mom's back to get them to pay for her college tuition.
I need money.
You need money.
For Yale.
You need money for Yale.
Does your mother know you're here?
No. This is my thing.
Rory is caught between two ideals. Her self-reliant, hardworking mother who took a stand to make her own life.
You provide for yourself. You're not dependent on anyone.
And her extremely wealthy insider grandparents who can unlock doors to make Rory's goals more easily obtained.
This is the office of a very dear friend of mine. His name is Harris Fellows, and he just happens to be the Dean of Admissions.
In reality, while Rory likes the narrative and self-made credit of her mother's path, she often takes advantage of the privilege represented by her grandparents.
I mean, I'm a Gilmore. Do they know that?
But what makes all of this so toxic is her lack of awareness and unwillingness to view her own behavior honestly.
We take you in, we pay to redecorate a pool house so you can have a place all your own.
I did not ask you to do that.
You accepted it. You did not turn it down.
A notorious millennial trait that defines Rory is sensitivity to criticism.
He said I can't do it, so I can't do it.
When Lorelai tries to spin the New York Times setback as a learning experience,
Most of the things you've gone for, you've gotten. This setback might help you have some perspective.
this isn't even really a criticism, but Rory clearly takes her mom's words that way and bristles.
And there is some paper out there that is gonna hire you as their future superstar. That's just a fact.
Yeah, right.
Just as she takes job rejections intensely personally.
I'm never gonna get a job anyway.
That's not true. You are gonna get a job.
I'm not. The New York Times doesn't want me.
It's worth remembering at this point that Rory's existential crisis comes after a mere 2 job rejections, one of which doesn't count because there was no job there in the first place.
I got a letter from the Chicago Sun-Times. They're not hiring.
Not to mention that Rory already turned down a job at the Providence Journal-Bulletin, presumably thinking she was destined for something better.
I even called the Providence Journal-Bulletin and begged for that job, but they already gave it to someone else, some non-idiot who didn't think they were too good and turned it down.
Recent numbers say that it takes job seekers over 100 or 200 applications to get a job offer, and often 10 to 20 applications to land even a single interview. Rory's refusal to adapt to or understand the wider context and her petulant response to not being immediately lauded by the top institutions in the country betray that her attitude has really always been more "what would my grandparents do" than "what would my mom do."
Now, a lot of these hardcore fans have identified, like, a lot of these issues with classism. I'll chime in here for another major conspiratorial point here. Having one foot in one world and one foot in another. There's a lot of pitfalls here. Because this lap of luxury that Lorelai came from, that she actually shielded Rory from, like, episode 1 is really, really telling, because she really doesn't want to ask her grandparents for money, or her parents, Rory's grandparents, for money, because she knows what it's going to lead to and all the manipulation. Now, what's kind of crazy, now part of this could just be lazy writing or whatever, but it's almost like she's completely resigned everything in the later seasons, because in season 1 she really didn't want Rory to have anything to do with her grandparents, her own parents. And then now, after she took the money, it's like she had a feeling, her intuition, her mother's intuition was not to want to ask for that money. And then it came up again for the Yale issue, because she really didn't want her parents, Rory's grandparents, to manipulate Rory to go into Yale instead of Harvard, because Harvard was her dream. But it wasn't really her dream, because as Lorelai revealed in that previous conversation, she wanted Rory to go to Harvard. So those were implanted desires. So what I'm going to get to, which none of these analyses get to, here's the main issue. Lorelai, and I was never a fan of Lorelai. I think she's just... I mean, I actually think she did a great job with Rory to a point. And up to the point where it was time... I mean, there were several critical points. Up to the point where it was kind of time to go to college. Not even going to college, but it was time to go to college. That's where it all fell apart. And the feminist machine blew the whistle on itself, because how capable is a single mother? And there was a failure of all those around her, too, because everybody kind of failed Rory, too, including herself. But everybody else failed her as well, including Luke, because Luke was kind of the father figure. And there was no discipline brought to Rory ever, as this video highlights. But again, the Illuminati feminist machine that pushed all of these ideals of feminism, look at how much of a narcissist Lorelai is. I mean, this is an absolute narcissism. She only cares about herself and her daughter, and she doesn't even really care about her daughter when it offends her own sensibilities, which leads to their whole falling out issue. So if everybody's still paying attention here, this is the crux of the issue. Because, and I've never seen a show like this. All these other feminist shows are like, rah, rah, you go, girl, accomplish this and accomplish that. But here, you have all the telltale signs of narcissism and the madness that it sows. Because Lorelai, really, she's the main problem. Because she denied her own daughter a father. And we actually see this repeat with Luke and his daughter. Because the mother of Luke's daughter didn't even tell him that she existed. So this kind of feminist rah-rah, don't need no man, this caused the complete destruction of just such a sweet human being in Rory. And here's, like, this really is one of the main points that I'm gonna give here. This show was popular for many reasons, but not this reason. And I don't think, am I the only one that sees this? But to me, it's so obvious on how it's blowing the whistle on itself. But it might be unintentionally doing so, because the feminist writers know full well all of these things, and they're writing them, some of them as if it's a good thing, but more of just, oh, this is a feminist show, let's do the show, revealing just the turmoil and the destruction it causes for all society when there's no strong father figure or discipline. Because her grandfather wasn't really a disciplinarian either. They enabled the narcissism. I mean, they were narcissists themselves as well. So it's not just the blowing of the whistle on the feminist machine, which is actually built on narcissism itself, but dissecting narcissism and just the weakness of these male characters like Luke. Because Luke had the opportunity to really steer, and Rory cried out for help in one episode where, during the falling out, when Luke revealed that Lorelai and him were getting engaged and she didn't even know. And she was kind of going to him almost like for help, for encouragement of some kind. He offered nothing. And everything just kind of completely fell apart, and it can all be traced back to Lorelai's narcissism. I didn't freeze frame it on this on purpose, but how telling is this image here? The feminist machine built on narcissism and ego. But to give Lorelai credit, she knew what would happen when Rory would be exposed into this life of privilege and money and how it corrupts and changes. And that's exactly what happened to her. And furthermore, the whole... Actually, I'll save the last piece for after the video is done, because this is one of the biggest bombshells, but I'll make you wait a little bit, because we gotta finish this video.
I thought I was so in at the Times. I was just saying that I wasn't going to get it because I was trying to be humble, but I was so not humble.
Take the incident with the study tree. Another bizarre example of Rory's entitlement when she becomes irritated because someone else dares to sit by a tree she's claimed as her own.
This is my study tree.
What the hell's a study tree?
The tree is plenty big enough for 2, even 3 people to sit around. But Rory eventually decides to throw money at the situation to get what she wants, which, unfortunately for Rory's personal growth, does work. This gets at Rory's main problem. It's not that she makes mistakes, which everyone does, but that she refuses to learn from them. It's this intractability that's the reason for her drifting aimlessly as a 30-something. She's just waiting for more opportunities to present themselves to her and more doors to magically open.
You basically promised me the job was mine.
You were a candidate.
Looking back at Gilmore Girls, the extent to which everyone reveres young Rory can be a little mystifying.
She's a very impressive young lady.
I wholeheartedly concur.
She's a diligent student, but none of her accomplishments really set her apart.
Every child that applies has the same high grade point average, they've taken the same AP classes, and they're all on the student council.
It's hard not to be skeptical of how simply earning good grades gets her into so many Ivy League schools, or why she's elected editor of the Yale Daily News after she's just recently taken time off from Yale.
I did miss that semester, so seniority's a question. We're past taking seniority into account.
Rory's best frenemy, the ultra-driven and extracurricular-obsessed Paris, behaves the way you'd expect Rory to behave if she were the hyperachiever we're told she is.
What the hell did Romain mean when he was going on about weeding out the hyper-intense in the interview process? He stopped just short of calling me by name. I'm losing it.
Paris does put in the work and arguably isn't rewarded for it enough.
How am I going to tell him I didn't get into Harvard? What am I going to do?
Lydia then writes that Paris should have been valedictorian over Rory. Quote, she worked her arse off for 4 years, got perfect grades, was president of the student council, editor of the newspaper, and on every committee going. What more did she need to do? Meanwhile, Rory kind of skates by on a mix of intelligence, privilege, general likability, and an easygoing veneer.
You're quiet. You say, excuse me, you look like little birds, help you get dressed in the morning. People don't fear you.
But the post-recession world of A Year in the Life seems to finally catch up to her, as Rory finds she's no longer rewarded for acting like she's above trying.
Don't get me wrong, I have ideas.
Like?
Stuff about the world, culture.
Rory has a pretty bad case of main character syndrome. She takes it for granted that both her grandparents' and mother's lives should revolve around her. She claims her mother's life experiences as her story.
You're 16, you're pregnant. You're packing up to leave Grandma's house. It's a riches to rags story. It's got everything.
And doesn't find it valid that Lorelai objects to having her intimate personal life shared in a book.
I don't want my mother finding out I left you in a bucket in a hardware store in chapter 6.
This is such an overreaction.
It's my life, Rory.
In Rory's friendships too, most of the focus is on Rory's problems and Rory's life.
I have to get to the bus stop. Dean's meeting me there.
But I'm trying to talk to you about this. What good is it to have a best friend when she's never around and she never listens?
Again, when has there ever been a show where it's this obvious, where the narcissism of the main character is this exposed while being wrapped up in some kind of feminist show. Everybody's still with me in the chat here? Obviously, this is all fair use all the time, but yeah, is everybody seeing what's going on yet? I would be curious to know the opinions of the people that watched it in its original run and watching it now and watching this dissection. I'd be very curious, because my guess is that this wasn't obvious as you were watching episode by episode. That's my guess. Now, with eyes to see, watching it now, because there's shows that I watched in the 90s, I go back and watch them now, like Seinfeld or some of these other shows. Just the narcissism and the promotion of ego and materialism, it's so heavy-handed, but it didn't seem that heavy-handed at the time. Especially when you're watching, you know, in bits and pieces, one episode at a time, instead of actually binge-watching an entire season so you can see the entire context together in a short period of time. But here you see how the feminist machine and all the destruction that is wrought by the destruction of the nuclear family and the promotion of the lack of necessity of the nuclear family. Because what would have happened if Lorelai actually married Chris and they made it work and their grandparents helped them? Now, yeah, it would have still been in the lap of luxury, but that's the other thing about this 1 foot in, 1 foot out, which I'll get back to in a moment.
But perhaps this main character entitlement is most egregious in Rory's love life. Throughout the series, she treats men pretty shabbily and plays love interests against each other. She appears to view married and engaged men as fair game because if they're exes, she considers them mine, existing characters in her story.
He's not a married guy. He's Dean, my Dean.
He's not your Dean. He's Lindsay's Dean. You're the other woman.
When she sleeps with her first boyfriend, the now married Dean, she not only blames Dean's wife, Lindsay,
She's not good for him, okay? She lets him quit school and work himself to death.
but also doesn't respect Dean's adult life because it's not the one Rory imagined for him. Rory has always looked down on Dean for not being as academically inclined as she is, instead of accepting that he's just interested in different things. Step forward Jess, who does fit the prescribed Rory Gilmore mold of intelligence, in that he reads a lot of books.
You've read this before.
About 40 times.
But Rory still makes sure to keep Dean around while she's making up her mind. And she repeats this self-centered behavior of keeping her options on the table when she kisses Jess to get back at Logan. After rejecting Logan's proposal, in a year in the life, Rory is back to sleeping with him despite the fact that he's engaged.
Someone's coming to town.
Kind of.
Sovereign Searcher you just got here. Basically, the Illuminati feminist machine blowing the whistle on itself in a mainstream show like I've never seen done before. That's the main conspiracy. The promotion of these feminist ideals and destruction of the nuclear family and what results from that. Because in all these other feminist shows, you see all of these successes, like these outliers being heralded as everything to strive for. Strive to be the 0.01% outlier who makes it despite all these things and celebrate that. Sovereign Searcher says wife loves this show. Yeah, I've never seen a show quite like this, where the main character is exposed for these narcissistic traits causing all of this destruction. Because you have Lorelai, who's a narcissist. Narcissism begets narcissism. And then her daughter eventually becomes a narcissist. But here's one of the saddest things of all this. It's not just the relatability of a lot of these characters, but Rory in season 1, so before she becomes involved with a married man because of jealousy, etc., again, there were no values. There's no family values being instilled in Rory. There's no father in the household, and Luke didn't man up. He offered no discipline or guidance. Everybody just mindlessly celebrates her and indulges her ego. This isn't even her fault to an extent, especially for most of the, up until throughout all her childhood. This isn't even her fault. Everyone around her is failing her and inflating her ego. This is the world we live in now. In this matriarchy type world where all of these girls are propped up, oh, go to college, who cares about family, and single moms are awesome. Look at what happens here. I mean, I've never seen like a popular mainstream show like this completely expose feminism and what it destroys while being feminist. I mean, has anybody seen a show like that? Has anybody seen a show like this? I mean, this is absolutely crazy. And it's so it becomes so heavy-handed and obvious in Day in the Life, or Year in the Life, rather. Year in the Life is, it's actually pretty bad. It's hard to watch. There's no chemistry between the characters. It's pretty terrible. But if you've watched the first 7 seasons, it all makes sense. It all makes sense. It's, again, the Illuminati feminist agenda blowing the whistle on itself. And I think it might have been unintentional. I think the writers just wanted to have drama and conflict. So they wrote what they knew, the ideology infecting their brains, and they didn't realize how it blew the whistle on itself. Thoughts, comments in the chat here as we finish this up.
Odette.
And she's dating Paul. While the joke is that Rory doesn't respect this person.
Oh, crap. Paul is here.
Why is Paul here?
I invited him for dinner, and I totally forgot.
Psychologist Stephanie Newman claims that one of the reasons women will sleep with married men is because they crave competition and a need for superiority, saying, feeling superior has less to do with the man in question and how desirable he is, and more to do with being more powerful than and superior to the other woman. The callous and confusing way that Rory treats the men in her life also reflects her signature millennial traits, like an emphasis on competition and fixation on the self.
What else is funny about this YouTube channel? She doesn't use the word narcissist, and this isn't millennial. This isn't a millennial aspect. It's a feminist aspect. Obviously, this channel's probably run by a feminist, but so they don't make that connection because the mental capacity's not there because the indoctrination and the brainwashing was too strong. But here on MindShock, we're obviously examining all of this objectively, logically, and neutrally, and aware of the social engineers and the Rothschild Rockefeller propulsion of feminist ideology in order to collapse Western civilization, which is working quite well, is it not? Is it not? And that's the conspiracy here. It's just the self-blowing of the whistle like I've never seen before.
In Why Dating as a Millennial is So Screwed Up, Bold's Drea Rose writes that some of the generation's bad dating habits include: we ghost as a way to end things, we're in a competition of who can care the least, we expect a perfection that doesn't exist, we're overloaded with options, we're always stuck in a gray area, and we don't feel accountable for the pain.
Again, these aren't millennial traits. This is just flat-out narcissism. Female narcissism propped up by the feminist machine. Hello, Sunflower Soul. Rory became her narcissistic mother in A Year in the Life. It was horrible and made me see the entire series completely differently for what it always was. So, Sunflower Soul, we need your background here. Did you just get here? Because I just watched all of the entire series, and Year in the Life. I just watched it in the past week or so. I had never seen anything other than quick little commercials that I knew nothing about the show. And so I could see it for what it already was every episode of the way. So did you watch it on its original run? And I have to give Lorelai, she was a narcissist, but I have to give her credit because she really wanted to keep Rory away from her grandparents. And then what didn't really make sense is she actually was, after that, she was encouraging, because I think that was her mother's intuition. She knew that exposing Rory, brought up by a single mother, to the lap of luxury, where she would be so spoiled and enabled that it would just not make her a good person. And she was a good person. To give Lorelai credit, up until dealing with the grandparents, Rory actually was a good person. Now, hopelessly indoctrinated into the cult of statism, feminism, all of this worship of indoctrination facilities. I mean, yeah, that's an issue. And, of course, the gluttony, just the celebration of all the junk food and fast food in large quantities. But other than that, she was actually a sweet person and a good person that didn't want to hurt anybody. But after dealing with the grandparents and being exposed to all of this snobbery of the grandparents. Yeah, Sunflower Soul. Yeah, if you have time, please watch this from the beginning, and feel free to leave a comment afterwards, because I'm really fascinated. Because I like I said, I suspect that people that watch the original run episode by episode, because you couldn't binge watch it because it wasn't released season by season, but if you never heard of the show and are watching it now for the first time, you could watch all of it at once. And that's obviously, you can have a lot different perspective on what's going on. But season 1 was kind of wholesome, though. I still kind of stand by that. And I think Lorelai's mother's intuition, she knew what would happen if she exposed Rory to her parents. And I think she really fought so hard for Rory not to drop out of Yale for that semester, because she also knew what would happen. She knew that was kind of the point of no return. And she fought so hard, and then Rory betrayed her. Almost the same way she betrayed her own parents, by just running away instead of a lot. Now, I know there was a lot of baggage there and all that, but in the end, what I keep bringing up, if not for feminism, and if she did marry Chris, Rory's father, how differently would their lives turn out? Now, obviously, Rory's father is a pretty weak individual because he didn't fight enough for her. But I'm not sure, again, like, he kind of, in Year in Life, he did kind of say, like, when Lorelai makes up her mind, I mean, obviously the courts are quite biased. But who knows? If he had the backing of all his rich family, they might have favored him. I mean, who knows? But it still wouldn't have kept the family together, because if Lorelai was dead set on leaving, then that would have just opened up another can of worms. So, yeah, Sunflower Soul says, absolutely looking forward to rewatch. This has bugged me. I don't know how I didn't see it years ago. Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy, because this is the only mainstream show, or probably any feminist show that I've ever seen, that blows the whistle on itself so obviously, and most likely unintentionally. Unintentionally, because the writers are just writing what they know, and this is what feminism... This is the result of feminism. You have outliers like Paris. You know, when Paris is that masculine, she probably could succeed in all these endeavors. But Rory's 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And that's why feminism is what? 99.9999% failure rate. And that's what the show illustrates. And that's the grand conspiracy facilitating the collapse of Western civilization. Just the abandonment of the importance of the nuclear family. And a strong parental figure, in a strong father figure, and a lack of discipline. And again, I have to give Lorelai credit, because up until Chilton, even at Chilton, it wasn't that bad. But when it was time to go to college, and again, Lorelai saw the writing on the wall. I think there was 3 turning points for Lorelai. The first, when she had to go to her parents for money for Chilton, she really didn't want to do that. That was motherly intuition. The second, when Rory chooses Yale over Harvard, I think her motherly intuition knew that might have been a line in the sand. And then the third, possibly insurmountable point was when she dropped out of Yale for that semester and was just living in her grandparents' pool house. In sodomy. Living in sodomy. Her daughter became a sodomite. I mean, she was kind of a sodomite too, but anyway. I mean, this is crazy stuff. I mean, this is really crazy stuff. And the show was so subversive in the way that it exposed all of this, obviously, and through other characters as well. And what I was saying before, what makes it so sad is that I think the relatability is we all know someone like Rory. Not necessarily someone who got great grades or was valedictorian, but just a really good, kind-hearted person that was absolutely destroyed by college. And exposure to these corrupt, narcissistic individuals, whether their own family members or not, sometimes in spite of their family members. Like, look how good of a human being Rory was in season 1, despite her narcissistic mother. And, I mean, Lorelai's just such a horrible character, because she's so narcissistic with the way she treats everybody, and then Rory kind of ends up being the same, but not necessarily because of Lorelai. I mean, partially. But a lot of it had to do with she's 1 foot in, 1 foot out in her mother's self-built, self-made world, and her rich grandparents that will bail her out at the bat of an eye, and she knows it.
Pain we inflict on others.
Dean, you're my boyfriend. I would never do anything to hurt you.
Yeah? You're doing it right now.
Rory's self-centeredness may also stem from the fact that she's an only child. G. Stanley Hall, a child psychologist who first theorized the idea of only child syndrome, describes them as having a tendency to be selfish and hypersensitive to criticism.
I never realized how spoiled you were, Rory, but I guess that's to be expected. Only children are always spoiled.
All this speaks to a larger problem. Rory has to stop thinking of her relationships only as part of her story and start thinking more about how others feel.
It's my life.
It's our life.
Yeah, well, you write your side of it.
A Year in the Life starts with Rory aged 32, the same age Lorelai was at the beginning of the original series.
Hey, how old is your mom anyway? 32?
Lorelai was the teen mom who everyone thought had ruined her life. But in fact, she worked her way up at the Independence Inn and made a life for herself.
I worked my way up. I run the place now. I built a life on my own with no help from anyone.
Ironically, while Rory was supposed to be the golden girl, she's accomplished a lot less than her mom had at her age. This is in part because Rory has never had to struggle or take on the world alone. Rory's never been seriously tested, so she hasn't developed the resilient spirit her mom built up out of necessity as a young single mom. We've seen earlier signs of this missing resilience. In season 5, Logan's dad tells Rory he doesn't think she has what it takes to be a journalist.
I just don't think you really have the drive to put yourself out there, to be honest. To get a story, to dig.
And it sends her into such an existential tailspin, she drops out of Yale.
All I've been doing is working toward being a journalist. I'm not going to be a journalist, so what momentum am I losing exactly?
But even this doesn't turn into an opportunity for Rory to really better herself. Because rather than being made to fend for herself, she gets to live a cushy life in her grandparents' pool house.
Hosanna, draw Rory a bath, please. Hosanna has a pot of coffee for you in the other room. Interested?
Mm-hmm. Wow.
In her 30s, Rory is at last having the moment of reckoning that her mom had when she was just a teenager. She's no longer finding that the world bends to her will, and she's taking time to figure her life out.
I feel like this is my time to be rootless and just see where life takes me.
The show begins to view her more critically and less like the princess of Stars Hollow. But on the flip side, we can empathize with her more. The fact that Rory is so stuck in her early 30s is probably the most relatable she's ever been.
I'm blowing everything, my life, my career. I'm flailing and I don't have a plan or a list or a clue.
And now that life has at last gotten tough, it forces her to change, just as Lorelai did. A Year in the Life set up a full circle journey for Rory that is essentially about becoming her mother. Show creator Amy Sherman Palladino has even said that the theme of the show takes after the opening song, Where You Lead.
Where you lead, I will follow.
In that it's about history repeating itself and Rory following Lorelai's lead. Like Lorelai, Rory reveals she's about to become a single mother.
I'm pregnant.
And although it's never said explicitly, it seems like the father of the baby is Logan, the privileged immature heartthrob whom Sherman Palladino has compared to Rory's dad, Christopher. While the bombshell of her pregnancy would seem like an indication that Rory's hopes of professional success will be even more unlikely, the implication is that Rory will follow in her mom's footsteps in unlocking her resilience. Once she's at last tested, she'll show the world and herself what she's really got. Digging deep into her relationship with her mother is also the key to her deeper creativity as a writer.
I sat down and it just came out, flew out. It's like the story has just been sitting in my brain for years, taking up space.
And the cure to Rory's main character syndrome will no doubt be motherhood, which will force her to stop seeing the world as only revolving around her. A lot of Rory's problems as an adult can be put down to the fact that she was a gifted child. Many gifted children struggle to live up to their potential or feel enormous pressure later in life. They also often plan a career path too early.
You've known what you wanted to do with your life since you were 3. Be a journalist.
The National Research Center on the Gifted and Talented explains that if a career decision is made early due to cognitive maturation without synchronous emotional maturation, the gifted adolescent may not be able to consider the long-range planning, persistence, and self-sacrifice needed to achieve the intended career goal.
If I hire you, tell me what Rory Gilmore would write about for Sandy Says.
Oh, if I worked here.
Sell me.
Sell. Okay, we're selling.
Like many millennials and gifted young people, Rory needs to sit down and ask herself if the path she set out for herself at 16 is still the right one 16 years later. She's spent too long plowing on ahead. The privileged, entitled, spoiled millennial who assumes everything will work out for her. So it's good when, at last, it doesn't.
Moving home!
Gilmore Girls leaves us with a new definition of what counts as millennial success. Maybe career and relationship stuff isn't going to take off for Rory, at least not right now, but she still has a real shot at finding herself.
They've been to college, then out in the real world, and it spit them out like a stale piece of gum, and now they're all back in their old rooms, like you.
This is the tape.
So again, I don't want to judge too harshly, but these look like some kind of woke feminists. So they missed like a lot of the main points here that I'm gonna go over, even though a lot of the points they brought up were legitimate. So there's a few things to go over here. There's a few things to go over. I Am Ion's cat in the chat says, wife's sister was valedictorian, was destroyed by college, and came out like Lorelai almost exactly. Yeah, that's what they, these indoctrination facilities really churn out these carbon copy narcissists that just turn out to be really unfulfilled in life, except for this vast fraction of a minority, these 0.0001%ers, like maybe Paris Geller types. And they brainwash the youth into thinking that this is some kind of an ideal to strive for. Now here's how, let's get into her love interests and one of the... Actually, before that, let's finish with the career points, because this was another defining moment in the series here, where she can't take criticism.
You know. You know, you and I haven't really sat down and talked about the situation, about how you're doing here and all.
Well, you've been busy.
I've meant to. I offered you the job, took you under my wing. It's part of the deal.
Great. I'd love your feedback.
Go on and sit. I've worked with a lot of young people over the years, interns, new hires. I've got a pretty good gut sense for people's strengths and weaknesses, whether they have that certain something to make it in journalism. It's tough business, a lot of stress.
Definitely.
And I have to tell you, you don't got it. Now, guts can be wrong. Mine's been wrong before, but not often.
So he got a lot of flack here. People thought he was too harsh, but he actually really was being honest with her, which a lot of people never were because they were too busy praising her and indulging and pumping up her ego, which caused her to be this feminist narcissist.
I thought
Now, guts can be wrong. Mine's been wrong before, but not often.
I was doing okay.
I just don't think you really have the drive to put yourself out there, to be honest. To get a story, to dig. I mean, just now in this meeting, I encouraged everyone to say whatever they wanted. You said nothing.
I wasn't sure if I should.
Exactly. I mean, you saw Harry. He jumped right into the fire. You didn't.
But Harry's not an intern.
Doesn't matter.
I've always done what's asked of me.
See, the thing is, in the real world, it's not always good enough to do just what's asked of you.
But I thought I was in a really good rhythm with everyone here.
I'm not saying you're not competent. You're smart. You're terrific at anticipating needs. Actually, you'd make a great assistant.
I mean, he got absolutely trashed for this, but he's being so nice. He's being more than nice. He's saying how terrific she is at doing all these tasks. And that she would be a great assistant, which she would. She could be this multi-millionaire assistant to all these people. Because she's so good at following orders. She's a good order follower, as she's been indoctrinated to be in indoctrination facilities when she was chasing all these good grades. And you could tell it just shattered her here because she's been so sheltered and coddled her entire life, like most kids have been. I mean, this is just, again, this trophy generation type thinking.
Oh.
I'm sorry. It's not my pleasure to disappoint someone like you, especially you. What with the extenuating circumstances. But it's healthy. I don't know any other way. I don't BS.
I should get back.
Hey, listen. I know this is rough, but I may have just done you a big favor.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
And she's too much of a narcissist here. She's too much of a feminist, girls can do anything type narcissist to understand that he actually did. He gave her the biggest favor that she's ever been given in her entire life, and her narcissism blinded her to see it. Here's an interesting comment regarding this this scene. There's two comments here. Rory's character really shows the importance of teaching kids a growth mindset. If you raise your kids, giving them rewards for getting A's without even studying, I mean, she did study, but constantly calling them naturally smart, talented, and perfect, they'll crumble whenever they face criticism or something doesn't come easily to them. Instead, reward your kids for effort. Praise them for being hard workers and dedicated people through the things they decide to do, and teach them when they fail or face adversity, it's not an excuse to stop working hard. Even if something doesn't come easily, they still have the power to succeed at it. That way, their ego and self-confidence doesn't shatter as soon as someone puts them down, because Mitchum was, in some ways, right. He said if she's really got it, she'll bounce back. He was testing her to see if she'd keep going when facing adversity, but she didn't because she'd never been taught to deal with something that didn't come easily to her. Now, I'm not sure that's what he was testing. I don't think he was testing her. I think he was just giving his natural opinion, but also leaving it in that he could be wrong and leaving the door open for her to prove him wrong, because clearly he wasn't wrong about her in that moment in time. But she could have changed and become what was necessary to succeed. And he clearly left the door open for that to be done. But she didn't. What did she do? She dropped a semester. Now here's another, this comment is even better. It's even better, and this again reinforces the Greek tragedy that is this series, which also represents the collapsing Western civilization. The problem is that Rory is really good at exceeding with guidelines or a rubric, but she can't think outside of the box. Even in Chilton, if Paris hadn't told her a lot of extra requirements for getting into Harvard, Rory wouldn't have made it. But when you sit in a classroom by force and a teacher tells you what to do by force, Rory does a great job because she's smart and pays attention to detail. But in the real world, there isn't a rubric or instructions. You have to come up with things on your own, especially in journalism. We see that Rory generally enjoys sitting in a corner and reading a book. She isn't fascinated by people or any other particular subject. I just find it so annoying that Rory's talents were wasted. She could have been a great doctor, event planner, editor, lawyer, etc. Journalism is literally the worst possible career choice for her. Rory isn't even necessarily a bad writer. When she is given a topic to write about, she does a great job at researching and making it great. Her only issue is finding leads. She will never be cut out for doing that. So here's part of the Greek tragedy in terms of the pursuing the career part, which I will also examine other than that, as all part of the feminism destruction agenda. So she had so many talents, but because she was a narcissist enabled by narcissists, instead of taking this criticism and reevaluating, and because does she even know why she wants to be a journalist? She saw some TV programs and she just wanted to do it. I mean, has she even tried doing other things? I mean, she actually was a really good event planner with the DAR. She planned some awesome events. So she could have been so successful in so many different fields. I mean, journalism too, if she made the changes required. I mean, she didn't have the discipline to do so at that point in time. But was there even a reason to do so, though? Because she was constantly enabled by her narcissistic mother and her narcissistic grandparents. And there was no discipline or real... Because again, I think Luke really was in a position to help her, and he didn't. He just kowtowed to the narcissistic Lorelai. And there's a really cringeworthy scene in Year in the Life where basically he says that his life with her is all he needs, etc., etc. It was really, really, soy-infused rant. Quite pathetic, actually. I mean, quite pathetic. I mean, even his gestures in the earlier seasons, they weren't from a place of patheticness. Like, he actually built Lorelai an entire ice rink. And how did she repay him? She basically said, let's go get married right now or never again, and then they broke up. I mean, just the level of narcissism of this Lorelai character. I mean, she's probably one of the most narcissistic human beings ever in any television show. I mean, I don't know how she has any fans. I mean, again, the dialogue, quite witty and funny. She can be witty and funny. But just the narcissism is so off the charts. And the destructive path of the narcissism. And everybody she touches turns out worse. So, including her own daughter. So again, just covering the career angle, clearly she had all the tools and talents and intelligence to succeed massively in all these other fields. But she just blindly stumbled towards journalism just cause. Just cause. Did she ever really stop and evaluate why? And if she did and she still wanted to do it, well, that's where the discipline comes in. But it all seemed kind of just blind just because it was what she thought she wanted because she saw some stuff on TV or read some newspapers. You know who was an interesting character? Doyle was actually, I thought, a very realistic character, especially in the revival. And again, like I said, this show is so much more deep than it has any right to be, especially with that title. It's kind of crazy, but here's a good example. So, YouTube's a little laggy. 1 second here. Okay, so we have Doyle, who is the editor, and then later apparently married and divorced Paris, but his character is so interesting, and also a very realistic arc. Because it's almost like he realizes print is dead, either that, and of course living with Paris for X amount of time. I mean, who could handle that? But in the revival, he turns out to be this schlocky screenwriter, just writing scripts for money and just partying it up in Hollywood. I mean, quite realistic. Like, you see the writing on the wall, print is dead, etc., etc. He's someone that kind of rolled with the punches and made a success of himself. Now, again, with the Paris's character is interesting because that's what it takes to be successful. You know, you got to be cutthroat like that. And Rory was such a sweet kid. And then she had 1 foot in, 1 foot out in terms of the world, the life of privilege. So now let's examine, if nobody has any questions, we'll get to her love interests and where, again, this self-blowing of the whistle of the feminist agenda will all come into play here. I mean, this is, again, quite the Illuminati conspiracy that nobody has quite dissected in this way. But I'm going to drop the kibosh right now. And this is going to trigger a lot of people right here. So here's the thing. If not for the brainwashing of the Illuminati feminist machine, if Rory had actually married Dean, would she be happy and healthy in life? If she hadn't pursued higher education in these indoctrination facilities of the Ivy League or otherwise, would she still be this sweet, good person, uncorrupted by the world? She literally could have married Dean. She could have married Jess. Jess had a lot of problems at the time that they were in a relationship with each other, but then she chose Huntsberger. She chose Logan, the rich kid, over Jess, even when Jess was doing better. And yeah, I mean, he was very, at that point, you know, obviously he had problems early on, but, or she could have even if she married Logan when he asked her to, where in life would she be? She'd be happily married. If she hadn't pursued Obama's campaign, due to all of the feminist brainwashing, where in life would she be? And this show makes it so painfully obvious. It's the most heavy-handed self-blow of the whistle I have ever seen. I mean, yes, it's a Greek tragedy, Chin Chin. Chin Chin said, I'm going to have to rewatch this in the morning. Rory's bad influences, man, they got to her is truly a tragedy. The lack of so here's the thing. She could have still, if she wasn't brainwashed by feminism, she could have still been happy and won in life, even with the narcissistic single mother Lorelai. If she had married Dean, because she shows him, they actually have a scene, and you could see the pain in her face. Let me play the scene, actually, because this is very, very relevant here. I mean, this self-blow of the whistle, nobody will explain it the way I just explained it. You won't get any of the Gilmore Girls aficionados or hardcore fans. They don't even know what they're watching. And I actually, like I said, I think it's an unintentional self-blowing of the whistle. Because the feminist writers were just writing it as it is, you know, for dramatic effect, etc. But they don't even know what they revealed. They don't even know what they revealed. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. 1 second here. Like I said, I've never seen a mainstream show reveal like this. I mean, absolutely wild. Alright, so here's the scene from Day in the Life. Or Year in the Life. I keep saying Day in the Life. Year in the Life.
Oh, sorry.
Hey.
Well, of all the gin joints in all the world, it's so good to see you.
You too.
What are you doing in Stars Hollow?
I'm just visiting my parents for the weekend.
That's nice.
It's very nice, especially since Grady brought home the flu and head lice from his first day at school.
Oh, man.
Yeah, within 24 hours, all 3 kids had everything. It's ugly, man. Jenny told me to get out and save myself while I could.
She's a saint.
She's pregnant.
Again?
It's really boring in Scranton.
Man, your house is gonna be loud.
And another shout out to Alexis Bledel. What a brilliant actress. I mean, you could see the pain in her eyes as she's forcing a smile. Because that could have been her life and she knows it. It could have been her life, she knows it. She knows she could have also been married to Logan. Because he asked her, she declined. Literally, if she hadn't been brainwashed by feminism, she could have had any number of happy lives. And she could have still gotten into journalism, been an editor and all that, if she hadn't prioritized it first. That's the true tragedy here. And that's what the feminist brainwashing does. It just destroys lives. And it's just enabled by narcissists like, again, her mother. But, again, just brilliant acting here. You can see the pain in her eyes through the forced smile.
I know.
That's so great.
I know.
Congrats.
And it's a girl, so my sister finally has someone she can shop for.
How is Clara?
She's living in Berlin with a guy named Wolfgang.
Van Halen.
I wish. This guy's from Buffalo, and he climbs things for a living.
Climbs things like big piles of money.
Nope. Like bridges, municipal buildings. They stacked up tires for the monster truck rally, and he climbed them dressed as an ignition switch.
I don't know how to defend that.
And he calls her Ra. That's the great nickname he came up with.
You hate him.
I hate him.
Well, it's okay. She's young. It's her first love. It'll probably...
Yeah, I know.
Well...
How are you doing?
Me? I'm doing okay.
Just okay?
Well, things are changing for me at the moment.
The other thing, the self-blowing of the whistle that this show illustrates is how all of these feminists play pretend as if everything's okay. I mean, look at Lorelai throughout the entire series. She's pretending being a single mom is okay and it's not a struggle, and she kind of hides behind the comedy and the humor to mask the pain. And it's so obvious. That's why she's longing for either Luke or the father of her kid or whatever. Because here's the other thing, too. Because with Chris, the father of her kid, when they got married, he wanted another kid. So if she just gave him another kid instead of narcissistically pining for Luke, because she was 1 foot in and 1 foot out, too, between the world of her parents, in the rich world of her parents and Chris, because he got that big inheritance. What else was kind of narcissistic is she didn't marry Chris until he got the inheritance from his grandfather. So when he was dead broke and she wanted nothing to do with him. As soon as he gets money, all of a sudden, he's eligible to be in a relationship with and marry. I mean, it's crazy. Sunflower Soul says, unpopular opinion, Rory was never that special. She was smart and sweet, but she aimed for things outside of her abilities and true self, and it made the real world impossible for her. I'm going to push back a little bit there. She was special, but not because she was smart and sweet. She was genuinely a good person despite the hardships. Like, she wasn't, at the time, before college, she wasn't a sodomite. And that's another issue with her mother. Her mother never really preached the importance of just not being promiscuous or not engaging in sodomy. And basically, reserving sexual activity for a married partner. She never, because obviously it would be, well, even though it would have been hypocritical of her to preach that, she could still preach it. Smokers can still tell you how bad smoking is. But she never did, again, because of all this female empowerment, feminist, Illuminati destabilizing nonsense propagandized that she's brainwashed with. So it was actually in Rory's head that it was fine to be a sodomite. And so that caused a lot of issues, too. So I think she was special in the sense that she wasn't like most of these other teenage and college girls that were just running around promiscuously. Because she didn't really do that. I mean, she did have that one night stand in a year in the life, which was kind of sad, and her mother didn't even shame her for it, which was kind of crazy. I mean, just the enabling narcissism is so out of control here. That's what I mean. I've never seen this kind of self-blowing of the whistle. I've just never seen it before. It is just so insane.
I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm writing a book.
Well, you've read them all, so what else are you gonna do?
It's actually about my mom and me and our life.
Really?
I mean, this is just an absolute Greek tragedy across the board. I mean, look at her try to pretend that life is okay being a feminist. Like, she's almost trying to convince herself it's all going to be okay. She's writing a book. She's not a complete failure. And she actually isn't a complete failure. I mean, she's got that New Yorker piece. She did reasonably well. She actually didn't do that bad. It's not like she was a complete failure. But with one foot in, one foot out, she never really ultimately decided to take advantage of the connections the Huntsbergers could have given her. Like, she was always 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And that's the other tragedy that this exposes. If she just chose a world, she'd be a lot happier. She would either fulfill her goals on the career side, or even on the family side. If she chose Logan and married him and embraced that lap of luxury as this wife with all the money in the world, she could have still used connections and gotten into the New York Times and all these major newspapers if she had used his father for those connections. Or she could have went with Dean or Jess and not have the money, but have, happy family life and still pursued other things, but she wouldn't be in the situation she is now, just being so unhappy and unfulfilled due to, again, the Illuminati feminist agenda.
Can I put you in it? I mean, I'm changing the names to protect the guilty, but still, you would know it's you.
I don't know. What are you gonna say?
That you were the greatest boyfriend alive. That you were, generous and protective and kind and strong. That as much as I wish we'd met when I was older and more mature, I know that if I hadn't had you with me when I did, I wouldn't be the person I am today. That you taught me what safe feels like.
Again, brilliant actress. She couldn't even look him in the eye when she was saying all of that. Just absolutely brilliant actress. She couldn't even look him in the eye. And here's the thing, that all the feminist brainwashing also leads to self-sabotage. Because there's a constant feeling of just a lack of accomplishment. Because when Dean first told her that he loved her, that's when she freaked out. And that actually, you could say that was the inciting incident of her spiral that never stopped. Because if she had even said nothing but kind of thought about it and then stayed with him and there was no spiral and no Jess, she could have been fine. She would have ended up marrying him. Maybe they would have been happy, maybe they wouldn't. But if she wasn't brainwashed by feminism with a narcissistic mother, I mean, it's also weird because Lorelai usually doesn't bite her tongue that much, but she really didn't like Jess. She actually didn't like Dean at the beginning, but then she did. And she never liked Jess, and she never liked Logan. And she never really voiced those opinions that loudly, which is also a little weird, because she usually does. South to West says, this show subtly highlights the siren song of feminism and postmodernism. I don't think it's that subtle. I really don't. I think it's loud and proud. I think it's loud and proud, and that's the conspiracy. That it's so obvious. Sunflower Soul says, she wanted a lot of the things her mother taught her to reject. Yeah, but here's the thing. Her mother enabled it. Like I said earlier, there were 3 main issues. The first, accepting money from her parents for Chilton. And she didn't have to go to Chilton. She could have stayed at her high school, been valedictorian, maybe not gotten into Harvard or Yale, which was that a good thing? Would she have ultimately been much more successful and led a happier life? Maybe not in journalism, but maybe in journalism. Maybe just a different path there. if she hadn't gone the Ivy League and gotten involved with her grandparents and high society and just all of these individuals in the lap of luxury corrupting her mind like Logan Huntsberg. So, yeah, I mean, these are all interesting points, but like I said, just the self-blowing of the whistle. And look how brilliantly acted it is. She can't look him in the eye because she knows what she missed out on due to the feminist brainwashing and the narcissistic mother.
Okay.
And that you had a disturbing obsession with Lord of the Rings, that you did a terrible Smeagol impression.
It was not terrible. It was pretty damn good. There were hand gestures.
I know, I remember. I remember it all really well.
Good luck with the book.
Thank you. Dean! Cornstarch.
Pay for it this time.
This is also a good image that highlights, you know, the path that feminism leads to. Because again, this isn't really about not fulfilling your dreams. There were plenty of women. I went over this in other podcasts that, you know, the first self-made millionaires and the first woman to run for president. I mean, this was all pre-feminism, the pre-Illuminati rollout of the feminist agenda that fooled and brainwashed so many women. I mean, it's really sad. I mean, it's just, I mean, it's very obvious. That's what's kind of crazy. It's so obvious, yet many people just don't get it. And it's so obvious. She could have picked literally any of these guys and been happier than she ended up. And, yeah, I mean, again, just the self-blowing of the whistle, I've never seen anything like it. Like, this show actually gets celebrated for it, but not for those specific reasons, even though that's what it reveals. That's what it so perfectly reveals in this tragic cautionary tale of pursuing higher indoctrination facility and so-called schooling. I don't want to call it education. This higher indoctrination facility schooling. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's crazy. And the other thing that was kind of realistic with some of the other characters, although kind of sad, like her best friend Lane just wanted to, she was so passionate about music. She was way more passionate about music than Rory was about journalism. I mean, it seems like Rory would have just been a really good, like, reclusive writer, like maybe even a fiction writer, like she read so much. But for whatever reason, she just had journalism stuck in her head, and everybody gaslit her into being this ego-dominated narcissism perfectly in line with the feminist agenda, that this is how her life turned out. Oh, the black helicopters are still circling here. But this is the first female self-made millionaire, Sarah Breedlove. She died in 1919, quite a long time ago. Quite a long time ago. But yeah, there's so much that can be achieved and should be achieved, but by prioritizing the career early on, that leads to a path of destruction for what, 99.999% of women nowadays. Maybe not in the 80s when there was still some traditionalism to support. But yeah, it's so obvious. Like, that's part of the thing that's so mind-shocking. Like, I think it might have been some kind of CIA whistleblower that told me to cover this show, because I've just never seen anything this obvious in the mainstream before. And tragic too, just because of how, you know, look at her character. I think she is special because look at the average high school girl versus Rory. The average high school girl is already way more narcissistic and self-absorbed than Rory was before college. Now, obviously, the big reveal on what college does, Yale or otherwise, this is also a great series in that reveal on how colleges and universities absolutely destroy the minds of young people. And then we have Victoria Woodhull, who she was the first woman to run for president in 1872. And yet all these feminist myths persist about how before all these waves of feminism that women weren't allowed to do anything. Of course they were. A lot of great women out there. I even put out a tweet earlier. I would argue there might have been a lot more great women before that helped the world and accomplished great things pre-feminism than post. How's that to trigger the goofs? Truth Trollette says, I was going to ask whatever inspired you to watch it. It was almost like a gauntlet thrown down because this random individual on the interwebs just said, I request a deep dive on the entire Gilmore Girls series, including A Year in the Life. Now, when someone throws down a gauntlet, like the tone of the message was that this individual totally believed I would never do it. Like, just the tone and the language, it's like they were 100% sure I would never watch it. And when a gauntlet is thrown down that hard, they don't know who they're dealing with. This is Bruce McGuire here. I don't care if it was 20 seasons. When you throw down a gauntlet like that, but it turned out, like, I was not expecting this. And again, season 1 is actually relatively wholesome. If it weren't, I might have not made it through it. Like, if somebody throws down the gauntlet for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I don't think I could do it. I really don't. I have seen some random episodes from season 1 and maybe 1 or 2 random ones throughout the series. I've seen them, like, when they first aired, when I was still in my early research of the occult and symbolism and all that. That's just way too satanic for me. But season 1 of this show was wholesome enough for me to get through it, and well written enough with witty enough dialogue that I was able to get through it. And actually none of it was that painful. Maybe season 7 a little bit, and Year in the Life was a bit painful. But yeah, I mean, that's the main gist of it here. Of just, look at the amount of lives destroyed of all of these good girls. Just completely destroyed by colleges and by the feminist agenda, which just churns out these nonstop narcissists. And I think the relatability in this Greek tragedy is that I think all of us know at least 1 or 2 of these good girls that were just really, really great people that were completely destroyed by indoctrination facilities. And just how much happier would they have been, and not even gotten married necessarily. If they're an artist, be an artist. You don't have to go to an indoctrination facility. There's so many avenues that you can go down. But yeah, I mean, this conspiracy, I mean, this is such a big reveal and self-blowing of the whistle. I've never seen anything like it. And there's a lot of nuance to the show, too. There's a lot of interesting characters. There's a lot of missed opportunities with them, because even characters like Miss Patty, and they never really dove deep. Why did she come back? She had a whole bunch of husbands, obviously. And I don't know if they ever, does anybody know? 'Cause, again, I've only watched it once. I don't know if I'll ever watch it again. But she runs this dance school. She even taught Rory when she was younger. But it seemed like this was also a missed opportunity for her to be another mother figure to Rory and kind of give her some street smarts. Because this was a woman who had been through show business, and it seems like she had a lot of wisdom and experience that she could have shared. I mean, she actually promoted promiscuity, though, so in a way, not to Rory, I don't think, but in just conversations with Lorelai. So maybe she wouldn't have been a good influence, but if they really wanted to, they could have had her kind of maybe give some life lessons and impart some street smarts into the sheltered Rory. And then, of course, Luke is probably the biggest waste, because he could have been a good father figure that could have actually, he could have actually saved her. I think he could have, because she would have listened to him. And he could have imparted words of wisdom and discipline and encouraged her to pursue, you know, maybe things other than journalism just to see if she would like it. Maybe because she didn't even try. I mean, what else did she try with? And then obviously her father was a really weak character. The other thing you could argue, my final point, I'm actually wrapping this up. My final point here is, I mean, this one's actually really obvious. I mean, this one's a major one. I'm going to wrap it up with this final point here. When she adored her and respected her father, she was a really good person. And then as soon as she didn't, that's when the spiral happened. So even though he wasn't in her life a lot, whenever he would show up, she'd be so happy. And it's almost like she cared what he thought about her, and she behaved accordingly. Because think about, I mean, this is actually a really painful discussion for a lot of people. Think about the love that parents have for their child, like especially father to daughter, if we're discussing feminism and the evils that result from it, and just the countless destroyed lives. Think about all the hope for the future fathers have for their young daughters. And when a daughter respects her father and cares what her father thinks of her, is she really going to become some kind of sodomite or promiscuous, what do the youngins call them these days? 304s? Like most college girls, unfortunately. Not all, before everybody gets triggered. Not all. There are some people who survive. I have known a few that have survived. And they weren't completely destroyed mentally and physically by the degenerate college lifestyle. But look at for as long as she respected her father, there weren't really problems. Now, obviously, it would have been even better if he was actually present. And, yeah, I mean, it's just such a cautionary tale. It's a cautionary tale, Greek tragedy, acted to perfection by these actors, other than Year in the Life. But for the first 7 seasons, it was acted extraordinarily well. So, I mean, those are really the main points, and the main conspiracy of the feminist machine blowing the whistle on itself so obviously and out in the open that anybody can see it. And people enjoy this show. This is rated like one of the top comfort shows ever. But how many people actually see what's going on in it? And don't just think it's drama for the sake of drama. Just the psychological narcissism on display, and how it all manifests and spreads into the worlds and lives and the lives it destroys. So that's it for now. Hope everybody found another edition of the MindShock podcast interesting and informative. If you want to help support the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time. Welcome to MINDSHOCK. This is your host, Pierce McGuire, and you're listening to perhaps the greatest Illuminati conspiracy of all time, the Gilmore Girls conspiracy. This is episode 2. We're diving even deeper. We barely scratched the surface of the depths of this conspiracy in part 1, but make sure you do check out part 1 just so you're up to date. We're going to be examining a lot more here in possibly the most subversive, the most absolutely subversive mainstream TV series of all time, and the psychological expose into what is going on with the collapse of Western civilization in what is also an incredibly well-acted Greek tragedy. So there's so much to explore here with this series, but we're going to be going more behind the scenes with this one, into things that you just can't make up. You thought the first episode was mind-shocking? The mind shocks are going to be quite severe for this one. As always, if you want to help support the Mind Shock podcast, help logic and reason return to a world what is quickly going extinct, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure to subscribe to this channel, the Bruce McGuire channel, the home of Mind Shock. And like and share, comment. That's how you'll be getting those notifications. If you're still not getting them, you can become a free patron on Patreon and get the notifications through there. Those should always work. You can also check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section, or if you're with us here live, leave them in the live chat. I'll try to get to all of them. You can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube and help support the channel that way. IB McFly says, I didn't realize I'd like this subject as much as I do. Really well done, Percy. I mean, it's a mind shocker. It's a mind shock. Whoever the CIA whistleblower was that pointed me in the direction of this series, which is apparently incredibly popular, but something that I just would never watch normally. I had seen nothing but commercials. I knew absolutely nothing about this. And apparently it's the most in-your-face self-blowing of the whistle of the Illuminati feminist machine. Now, there's actually plenty more at work here. There are much darker Illuminati forces here than simply exposing feminism and liberalism for what it is, what is now called wokeism, etc., and how it absolutely destroys and devastates lives. Just as a quick lead-in, I actually did post part 1 in the, I don't know if it's the official Gilmore Girls subreddit, but it is r/Gilmore Girls. So apparently it's not official, but it's got the official name, whatever. And obviously the feminist liberal meltdowns commenced. And what's curious is these people have no idea what they're watching. So even though it's obvious to anybody with any modicum of logic and reason and understanding of social engineering and how propaganda works and how the Rothschild-Rockefeller-launched feminist agenda destroyed the West, or almost completely destroyed the West, and it was all manufactured to capture the minds of all of these hapless, clueless, normie goofs. These authority-worshipping cultist goofs, both male and female, in these devastating ideologies and the destruction of nuclear family and the collapse that followed. So there was a few interesting comments. I'll actually read them to get us started here, because the dialogue, obviously these goofs just melted down and just went straight ad hom because they couldn't actually argue anything. But yeah, let's go over the comments real quick, and then we'll dive into some of the greatest mind shocks in mainstream television ever. If YouTube will allow. We do have, for some reason, this one and the previous episode, there's been a lot more lag than usual. Is that all coincidental? There's also a lot of black helicopters, which there aren't usually. I'm in a pretty good hideaway in a bunker. There's usually not black helicopters over my location, so that was quite weird. They actually circled after I finished the podcast as well. It was really weird, because I'm in the middle of nowhere. And we got some serious lag here. Wow. Wow. Crazy lag. Crazy lag right here. I really don't know what's going on here. Just a lot of lag. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so we should be good now. Hopefully. At least temporarily. I don't know, there's something about this subject. Again, I really wish... So this... apparently, this person that threw down the gauntlet on this series... I'm starting to suspect it was some kind of CIA, maybe Mockingbird involved individual. Because why would anybody... Because I've never seen a deep dive on this. I've never seen like an Illuminati deep dive. Just, you know, the basic stuff from all the fans. So... Okay. So here was one of the... They were talking politics. Oh man, really slow. But let's get here. Dun, 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 dun. So slow. So much lag. I wonder if you have you have to have a certain amount of subs or be a big enough channel where you don't get affected by the lag. Okay. 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 Or not. Still plenty of lag. Alright, so I guess we wait. We wait. You can't hear me, Sovereign Searcher? You can't hear me, Sovereign Searcher? Okay, we're good. Welcome, 83 Devil Dog, Sovereign Searcher, IB McFly, Chin Chin, here for all of this as well. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on here. Just so incredibly slow. Man. I mean, just wow. Wow. Let's see. Let's see what I can do here. Okay, here we go. So there was a comment about Rory traveling with and covering Obama and worshipping Hillary Clinton. I respond, it really explains why her life ended up the way that it did. And then we have the triggered goofs swarm in because they obviously don't know what they're watching. and they're just clueless, and just even for basic preschool level English. So the response was, speaking of disrespectful and out-of-place comments, I'll remind you she finished the final season as a published author on a path towards success on her own terms. She wasn't a published author. I mean, she published articles, not books. No one's a published journalist. No one's life is smooth sailing. Rory's life ended up like most people her age did and presently do, with meaningless, expensive degree and no way to break into the industry she originally trained for. She was written with her life like that because that is what is relatable to a number of 30-somethings who grew up watching the show. So that's all incorrect, obviously. Because Amy Palladino, the writer, and her husband... So I actually watched a few Q&As and panels with them. They're full-level narcissists, so, and they don't know what they're writing. They write what they know in terms of the ideology in their head. But I think this was all an unintentional reveal, but there might have been intentional moments as well, which we'll go over, because we don't fall for false dichotomy logical fallacies here. So my response is that Rory ended up miserable, and was mostly miserable, ever since she started getting reality checks when she left the coddled environment of Stars Hollow. But yes, she is relatable. Plenty of Democrat women end up exactly as she did. Miserable, and with not much to show for it, some single moms, some not. For every Paris who is an extreme outlier, there are a ton of Rorys. Women failed by feminism, Democrat brainwashing. But even Paris got married earlier and had kids earlier and didn't completely sacrifice everything for her career, even though she actually was capable of making it no matter what. Lorelai was successful because of her parents, especially two of them, not in spite of them. In fact, this is clearly illustrated by her parents, Rory's grandparents, taking it easy on Rory because they looked at it as a second chance, because they believed they failed Lorelai, but they actually didn't, even if they were excessively harsh. This actually caused Rory to spiral harder since there were no real values instilled, just the entitlement attitude of liberalism and feminism. Alexis is a phenomenal actress. You can see the pain all over her face when she talks to Dean, knowing he is happily married in A Year in the Life. And obviously I get downvoted like crazy by these lunatics, because these clueless Dunning-Kruger goofs who don't understand any of these concepts or what they're even watching. So, another interesting point here, because they try to paint Lorelai as this successful woman who has liberal politics, but the thing is, and what I also pointed out, I don't know if I want to read all my comments here, what I also pointed out was that, again, the subconscious mind is programmed in very early childhood, not post-puberty. In very early childhood, where Lorelai had two parents. She was not raised by a single mom. She had two staunch Republican parents who instilled extreme... I mean, see, an extreme view of what it is to be successful and what it takes. Even though there's nepotism and cronyism built into that, with all their connections and money, she was still a really good student, and something we didn't really go over, she kind of actually psyoped Rory into wanting to go to Harvard because that's what she wanted to do. And you could see in the episode where they visit Harvard, Lorelai actually looks at this painting of, I don't know if it was a girl that went to her class at Chilton or whoever, but yeah, that was supposed to be her. So she was basically like the classic narcissist mom. She was basically living vicariously through her daughter, kind of forging her into who she thought she was supposed to be. Lord Zed in the chat here. Were you here last night, Lord Zed? I don't know if you were. The legendary Lord Zed is in the chat now. Lord Zed says, my mom is having obsessed with Gilmore Girls. So, anyway, so this level of narcissism, we didn't quite discuss it, but Rory never really had a chance to be her own person or develop her own dreams because this narcissist mother basically implanted all of the dreams and desires into her own daughter. It's literally her own mini-me. Everything down to her sense of humor, the way she talks, etc., etc. And so all of this is very obvious. And like a lot of these goofs on these subreddits and all these feminist fans, they don't even know what they're watching. Because this show blew the whistle on itself on what happens when you don't have two grounded parents and a strong parental figure. So just the absolute failure and degeneracy that feminism brings, and of course all of them being sodomites, but wow, IB McFly says, yeah, me and my wife watched 5 episodes today. She has already watched the series as it was released. Did she listen to part 1? Because I would like her thoughts, because I'm actually fascinated. I postulated that people didn't realize what they were watching, and even now there's no shortage of goofs, like for example on Reddit. Even now with after, because Year in the Life really made it obvious. But it was actually obvious even from pretty much the end of season 1, but into season 2 and onward, it was all very obvious. This inciting incident of Lorelai opening up the doors for her own parents, Rory's grandparents, to affect her life, and this life of privilege, this classist life. And that brings the other question, which I touched upon before. Would Rory have been better off if she hadn't gone to Chilton? Now, maybe she would not have made it to Harvard, but she might have done extremely well because that safety net of the lap of luxury and the money her grandparents provided, that wouldn't have been there. And so yeah, that's an interesting concept. So another thing we didn't touch upon on how kind of the show's obviously gluttony. So it promotes gluttony. So that's a very Illuminati materialistic satanic worshipping pillar, which is gluttony, but also mocking. Lorelai simply is kind of nasty how she just mocks everybody. Like, she really doesn't have that many close friends. She's got Luke and Sookie and sort of Michelle. We didn't really get into him too much, but that's about it. And kind of Kirk, sort of. But this is a town, I think in the pilot, there's thousands and thousands of people in this town. Realistically, it looks like a couple hundred, but whatever. She's not really all that close with anyone, and it's all mocking all the time. I mean, it's downright nasty. And you could see just the narcissism in these characters and who she turned Rory into, because Rory gets nastier and nastier with the mocking as well. In season 1, she doesn't really do a lot of the harsh mocking, especially not on the townspeople. I mean, maybe in some movies they're watching, just kind of making fun of some of the movies, which is a little bit different than making fun of people you know in real life who actually care about you, because they might have not liked Lorelai that much, but everybody liked Rory. She was like the hero of the town. Again, all the ego stroking. Alonzo Mosley says, a cautionary tale of what happens when you follow rules and seek fulfillment through social approval. Yeah, and specifically, I mean, not just that, but specifically the feminist Illuminati machine destroying human lives. IB McFly says, I had to listen to part 1 up until you give your spoiler warning at about the 10-minute mark just to encourage her to watch with a different mindset this time. Casey in the chat here saying, I freaking love Gilmore Girls. A lot of people do. And rightfully so. I mean, I don't know if I gave enough credit. You know, again, it's extremely well acted. It's relatively well written, blowing the whistle on itself. So I'm definitely not saying this is a horrible show in any way. The amount of layers this show has is pretty incredible. Everything from the different townspeople to the different settings, just all of the different storylines and characters woven throughout the seasons. I mean, it's actually pretty impressive. I mean, even, you know, Illuminati conspiracy aside, it's pretty impressive. I'm not knocking the show in any way. So, IB McFly says, I was in my teens when it came out, so I enjoy the time period it takes place in. It's nostalgic. Yeah, I mean, this is pre-2008 collapse. And actually it actually debuted pre-9/11 as well. So season 1, arguably the best season. Debuted October 5th, 2000. So approximately 1 year before 9/11. So, yeah. I mean, definitely some nostalgia, totally different time period. But the psychological aspects, the same throughout history. There's a lot of Shakespearean stuff going on here as well. So, yeah, I mean, even now, a lot of the fans don't know what they're watching. So, that's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. So, again, people kind of credit Lorelai as being this kind of liberal single mom hero, where completely ignoring that the only reason she was successful, which is the same reason why Rory is not, or not incredibly successful, she had 2 staunch Republican parents instilling values, even though they were emotionally abusive, emotionally unavailable, and lacking in many categories. They still instilled some kind of work ethic and values and expectations of success, whereas Lorelai did a little bit of the expectation of success, sort of. Although it almost seems like she made it clear, like Rory's just perfect the way she is. And kind of, you know, she gets good grades, whatever, and that's perfectly fine. But that's not required, and she's not going to be punished if she doesn't. So there's none of the actual backbone of discipline in any way. Lorelai did not provide any of that as a single liberal mom. So all of it, it's just weird how a lot of these goof fans attribute the success of Lorelai to her liberal Democrat mind and not her parents, which forged that mind in her early childhood. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. And even the grandparents, they thought they failed with Lorelai, where they actually didn't in terms of on the success aspect. I'm not talking about the emotional aspect, but just on career success, they were very successful, because look at how Lorelai turned out, then look at how Rory turned out. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's get into the really, really crazy stuff. Let's get into MindShock Land. So, Casey in the chat says, I watched this after my kids were grown, but I felt a connection with Lorelai. I felt like I parented like her. She was a smart A biatch, but I was okay with that. But you're right, she was awful. Yeah, it's kind of weird, because I argued this in episode 1, she was a horrible narcissist, but at the same time, she actually did a pretty decent job until Chilton. And her own intuition was telling her that it probably wasn't good for Rory to get into the realm of her grandparents and high society, because that's what she escaped. And she wanted to be self-made, which, of course, her parents gave her the tools to do that, just through the ways they raised her before she left them. Even though they offered her a home, they didn't want her to leave. I mean, she was pregnant. And they would have fully supported her and her marrying Chris. I mean, how many single moms out there, teenage single moms out there, would have loved to have the parents that Lorelai had? They would have loved for those parents to support her marrying the father of the child and helping them in any way, having the father of the child work for her father. I mean, for the hate that they get, and I'm not saying it's undeserved, because they were emotionally abusive in many ways, but for the hate that they get, do they not deserve? Like, they stood by each other and their child, even when their child got pregnant, disobeyed them, gave them an attitude, all of that. They were still willing to not only stand by her, but support her child, her husband, and have that family. How many people out there, how many young mothers out there would have gave anything to have the parents Lorelai had and didn't appreciate? And again, I'm not saying she didn't have legitimate grievances against them, but just, again, Lorelai's so much of a narcissist, she just can't see that. Wow, KC. Wow. Do I have your permission to read your latest comment, Casey? Because that's kind of personal. I mean, I know you posted it in a public live, but I want your explicit permission to read that comment. or I'm not going to read it. But I mean, it might be helpful to people listening and to demonstrate the issues with being your kid's best friend instead of providing discipline as a parent. Do I have your permission to read your comment about your daughter? I'll give you a couple more seconds to respond. If you give me your permission, I will read it. Okay, permission granted. Casey says sure. So Casey previously said, I watched this after my kids were grown, but I felt a connection with Lorelai. I feel like I parented like her. Of course, my daughter is now a 22-year-old stripper, no drugs, and is actually a lesbian too. So maybe I could have picked a better TV parent to be like. Another question, were you a single parent? And Casey says yes. So yeah, a lot of issues with the ideology here. And that's why I also think Luke greatly failed Rory, because he was in a position to really instill guidance and discipline, and he just worshipped the ground she walked on instead, which led to this great downfall of just ego, indulgence, and narcissism. So it's almost like Rory was doomed to fail no matter what, and that opens the door to the nurture versus nature debate, because I would also argue by nature she was a really nice, good-hearted kid, because look at her mom, and her mom, not so, but she was still like that up to the point that her environment corrupted her to the point of no return through initially Chilton and then eventually college life, which happens to many people as well. But Casey says, I support her because she is happy. That's good. Yeah, I mean, things can always be worse and things can always be better, and it ain't over till it's over. I mean, 22 years old is so incredibly young. I mean, you know, she's got her whole life ahead of her, so. Okay. Yeah, so that's the intro here. Now, let me play a clip that I didn't play last time. So it was 9 years since the end of the last 7th season until the revival. And then the revival was 2016? And then just this past December, 2024. So 8 years since the revival, there's another piece of media in the Gilmore Girls saga. I'm not sure everybody's seen this. I mean, I'm sure the diehard fans have, but I didn't know about this. So let's watch the continuation 8 years later. We get another. We can call this a micro episode.
Luke? Kirk?
Kirk?
Lorelai?
Coffee, please.
Coming right up.
Luke, you shouldn't have.
I had to. You're drinking me out of business.
Ha, thank you. With top brands they'll love from Walmart, give the gift that shows you get them.
So, for all the Gilmore Girls aficionados, this was another chapter here It is kind of weird. Why does it say Williams Hardware? I don't think it originally said that, but yeah, I mean, they just look so old and tired. It's kind of sad in a way. But the other interesting thing, I'm going to talk about this later after we go over all the crazy Illuminati stuff that we're about to take a deep dive into. Few shows get to span this many decades. Just this many decades to tell the stories across decades, so you can really psychologically examine these characters. Casey says, my daughter changed when she went off to college, across the country from home, and found sorority life and partying and all that. Up until then, she was the perfect child, like Rory. Yeah, that's what we talked about in episode 1, if you haven't checked out episode 1. I mean, college has just destroyed so many great kids. I mean, it's just so crazy because nobody really talks about it. But look at the psychological destruction college life just, I mean, that is wrought on all these great kids by college life. Just the lack of discipline, the lack of parental oversight, particularly paternal oversight. Because you know, the father's supposed to be the disciplinarian, and you could see how Rory and a lot of kids turn out as a result of single mothers. And again, not knocking the single mothers, some of them do the best they can. Obviously, Lorelai was this crazy narcissist, but you know, there's plenty of awesome single moms out there, and there's plenty of single moms that succeed. By plenty, I don't know if I could say the majority, though. Probably not the majority. Probably not even close. But yeah, it's really, really tough. And obviously one of the goals of the Illuminati and the feminist machine is to destroy the nuclear family. And you can see Western society is basically in the gutter now. It's a cesspool since the destruction of the nuclear family. And the promotion and celebration of single motherhood. I mean, that's what's crazy, too. It's like, it's one thing to support them and, you know, obviously hope they succeed in every way, but to celebrate it as if it's a good thing, that's the level of insanity these psyops and the propaganda have led to. So anyway, who's seen this commercial before? It's actually kind of an interesting commercial. I mean, I don't know how much work she's had done to her face. She looks kind of weird, but, and then of course, this is a lot more, you know, since this is 2024, it's way more woke. I mean, is there even a single white person in we got like an Asian girl, a black guy, is that an Indian woman? I mean, this is just, and another black guy. I mean, this is hilarious. I mean, this commercial is crazy, reaches insane levels of wokeness. I mean, look at this. There's not a white person left in this Connecticut small town. Oh, there we go. The troubadour. That's the only one. And I think that's the only reason that's a white guy, because I think that's the same actor that played the older troubadour in the series, and of course Kirk. But look, practically everybody else in the background, not a single white person. Is that accurate representation of a town that's probably 99% white? Oh man. Okay. Anyway, aside over. So let's get into the darkness of Illuminati land. We're gonna watch this clip from Family Guy, and it's quite dark. Quite dark.
We now return. Return to Gilmore Girls. We now return to Gilmore Girls.
Mom, I need to talk to you about Dean.
Which Dean? Howard Dean, James Dean, or Jimmy Dean?
Ugh, too old, too dead, and too fattening.
You don't have to tell that to my thighs.
Can you ask her thighs if they borrowed my Gap capris?
They did not, and they're insulted that you even asked such a thing.
As insulted as Kitty Kelly when people accuse her of taking liberties with her best-selling tell-alls?
Almost. Want to make out?
Absolutely not.
Oh, you're so lying.
I so am.
We now
am.
Okay, so first instinct from everybody is, oh, well, this is just typical Family Guy filth. Typical Family Guy trash. Destroying the mind. Gutter trash. Typical Family Guy gutter trash. But it's not that simple. So, one could be quick to write this off. One could be quick to write this off as just typical Seth MacFarlane nonsense. But the plot is about to thicken, my friends. The plot is about to thicken. Was Seth MacFarlane actually on Gilmore Girls?
Great, I'm Woody Allen and Annie Hall.
You thought ahead. Smart.
Oh, the mirror? Yeah. I never leave home without all the essentials. Mirror, makeup, picture of Sean Cassidy. I'm done. Do you want to use it?
Thanks. Oh, don't I look charming?
Oh, you look great.
I've looked better. I had to run here straight from work. Kinko's.
Hey, Liza, that gets me thinking. Maybe you and I ought to do a little reproducing after the ceremony.
Clever.
Don't be a snot.
Shut up. That's my boyfriend, Zach.
Oh, sure.
Of course, we're breaking up because we're transferring to different schools. He's going to Florida State. I'm going to UMass. Although I'm kind of going to miss this place.
I'm not. This place stunk. It's Bush League.
Why'd you go here?
My parents, wise investors that they are, couldn't afford anything else.
Yeah, I guess that 2-point zilch grade point average didn't reason into things.
Shut up.
Between the lines.
Go die.
What's the first word that comes to mind when you look at Seth MacFarlane's face and listen to his voice? I mean, slime kind of comes to mind. I mean, this guy's kind of a slime. Really sleazy, isn't he? What a schmuck.
Are you sure you two don't want to give it another go? Because you're darling together.
Thanks for the mirror.
My pleasure.
Hey, a bunch of us are going to Shakey's afterwards for pizza. You want to come?
Oh, I'm going out with my daughter after, but it sounds like fun.
Okay, you guys are not going to believe this. There's some blue-blooded rich woman out there setting up professional film equipment like she's shooting a movie or something.
You're kidding.
Whose mother is it?
I don't know. Little Precious must be around here somewhere, though.
I hate people with money.
So do I, with every fiber of my being.
Me too. Money people. Ugh.
Hey, you guys are not going to believe this.
You're Mr. Announcement Guy today.
What, you going to pipe in every time I talk?
Can it?
Stuff it.
They're in love. Clearly.
So Mrs. Gotbuck's out there not only has a cameraman, she's got a sound guy, too.
Oh, no.
It's like a Baz Luhrmann movie out there.
That's Emily, right? Shh. Rich people feel so entitled.
Yeah, damn them.
I swear I saw her wipe her face with a $100 bill.
We should line them up against a wall. You know what I'm saying?
Is Lorelai Gilmore here?
Yes?
Oh, good. Have a look at these, will you?
Wow.
Pretty. Look them over and take your pick.
What for?
To wear.
Are they for sale?
No, they're paid for. These are from your mother, Emily Gilmore.
Wow, ritzy. I really don't want to wear a corsage.
They're all paid for.
Really, it's too much.
Your mother wants you to pick one.
Really, it's okay.
She'll just come back here herself.
This one, thanks.
Good choice. The cameraman said that would look best on film.
So you're the rich girl.
Maybe. I'm not rich, but my parents have money, but I'm totally self-sufficient. I take nothing from them except this corsage and my daughter's tuition. So, you gonna stone me?
I should have guessed. Hey, look at her friends. They're wearing suits that drip money. Hey, pal, this was 30% off.
So that's why you didn't want to get pizza? Because it's below you?
Oh, no, Liza. Pizza is not below me. Believe me, I love pizza. I eat tons of pizza. It's one of my 4 major food groups. Candy, popcorn, and pizza. It's It's 2 of my food groups. That's how much I love pizza.
I want to believe you.
Enjoy your champagne and caviar at the Ritz, Your Highness.
I am not rich. Oh,
You don't trust your valuables around us poor kids, huh?
knock it off, Zach.
Making sure the camera's getting your best side, princess?
Look, some people want to give this goof credit. I'm not giving him any credit. I don't think he's acting. He's just being himself. What a scumbag. Anyway, so was this really just him screwing around on Family Guy putting this in here? Or did he have the blessing of the Gilmore Girls writers? In fact, we are going to be looking at a big reveal here, straight from his mouth, on how he ended up working on Gilmore Girls and the Gilmore Girls, The Simpsons, Family Guy, Illuminati connections here. So all of the coincidence theorists hopefully are sitting down for this.
Hi, I'm Seth MacFarlane, and this is the Wired Autocomplete Interview. I'm from New England. We only respond to negative criticism. If you want to on me, I'm here. Did Seth MacFarlane... Hi, I'm Seth MacFarlane, and this is the Wired Autocomplete Interview. Did Seth MacFarlane... Complete interview. Did Seth MacFarlane make The Simpsons? I fucking wish. No, I did not make The Simpsons. I have a lot of very good friends at The Simpsons. Matt Groening is a friend, and Al Jean, and Mike Reese, and Mike Scully, and those guys.
So, obviously The Simpsons well known for its Illuminati predictions. So he just happens to be good friends with all these Simpsons creators and Freemasons. Anybody find that suspicious? But let's continue here.
That was actually a legitimate throat clear. I wasn't trying to undercut what I just said. Who was Seth MacFarlane on Gilmore Girls? I think I was a graduating college student. I was literally just taking shots at Lorelai Gilmore. And then I think my sister and I sang a rendition of Michael Row the Boat Ashore. I think that was the extent of my Gilmore Girls tenure. I was friends with Amy Palladino and Dan Palladino, so it was a little bit of nepotism. Dan Palladino used to run Family Guy with me, and so when he left to go do Gilmore Girls, he took me, yes.
So, one of the producers of Family Guy goes on to write Gilmore Girls. He's married to Amy Palladino, the other writer and creator of Gilmore Girls. Is everybody still following here? Who thought we would be in this Illuminati web here? Now, watching this clip on Family Guy, this is practically sanctioned. I mean, could this be any more sanctioned? So this is not just the deviant mind of Seth MacFarlane. So this promotion of incestuous sodomy, I mean, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. One half of the writing team of Gilmore Girls is a producer of Family Guy and best buddies with Seth MacFarlane. IB McFly, you better be sitting down for this, because the mind shocks are just getting started. So let's look at this other scene from Gilmore Girls, and it's quite weird.
So hard. So harsh.
Harsh, but true.
Can I get some water?
Why are you covering your eyes, Kirk?
In case you're naked?
You said I'd walk into my daughter's room and get naked?
I don't know your domestic routine.
Glasses are above the sink. You said I'd walk into my daughter's room and get naked? You said I'd walk into my
So hard.
Anybody think that's kind of a weird thing to write about? I don't know what's going on here. But if everybody's still sitting down, not only that, but guess who? Not only was Seth MacFarlane best buds with one half of the writing team on Gilmore Girls, who happened to be a producer of Family Guy, apparently he was romantically involved with the actress that plays Lorelai. Who's ready for this?
Lauren Graham's in a little black dress and Seth MacFarlane singing show tunes. Let's go backstage and talk to him. All right, I'm here with the magic duo of the show. Thank you so much for talking with us backstage.
You're welcome. I took my bracelet off and Seth is drinking.
Yeah. Well, this is the internet.
Very informal part of the show.
You said you were afraid of the internet. This is us right here. We come in peace.
No. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can never take my eyes off that. If I could pull that off, I'd be doing it every day.
Hey, Seth, you had a little fun with our autograph book before the show. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well,
Did you write something?
No, I might have drawn a Stewie on Michelle Bachmann's page.
Oh, you went back through the book?
But think of it as an olive branch from the liberals to the conservatives.
I don't think they'll see it that way.
We want to know about the kiss between you and Jason Ritter. Tell us about that.
I don't know. It's so upsetting. Someone came up to him and said, how is it, doing Parenthood? He was like, I like it. And they said, what's it like working with Lauren Graham? He said, good. And the person said, I hear she has really soft lips. Ew! Who heard that? From where? Like, that's got to be some, softlips.com, that's the internet. That's you. And who would report that? And, as opposed to what? What do people have? Very sandpapery? What? What? It was so upsetting.
Any thoughts on that?
You're right to be confused.
Oh my God.
Seth, we loved your song. This is the album right here.
It's a record.
It's a record. You're on vinyl.
This is the only way you can get it.
Is that
no
true?
CDs? No.
I wish it was. I wish it were. It'd be part of the whole retro.
I wish it were too. It's kind of fun.
You said, I was reading the liner notes, you said it was the most fulfilling experience of your career. Is that?
Yeah, it was so no pressure, and it was the best band in the world. It was.
I bet that made the Family Guy people feel really bad. They're like, okay, it wasn't this.
Yeah,
it was
Family Guy's
record.
work,
Yeah.
This was not work. This was just fun.
And the microphone. Tell us about the microphone.
The microphone was about 60 years old. It was Sinatra's mic that he used to record with at Capitol. They kept it up somehow in usable condition. It doesn't look too pretty, but it
Is
sounds.
it full of why doesn't it look pretty?
Is it
I picture it covered in
full
spit.
of smoke and starlit perfume?
Well, that's great. Thanks, guys, for talking with us backstage so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Lauren Graham has actually said many times that she's basically Lorelai. So she's basically this narcissist airhead actress, which I guess is not surprising. But yeah, that's actually not their only appearance together. Let's look at these intellectual powerhouses converse on yet another talk show. I mean, this is a real meeting of the minds here coming up.
Will, you're the hit-making machine behind the Black Eyed Peas, but also really dislike a wet sink.
That's
But you realise that's what happens with sinks.
No, like around the sink, that's just nasty. You know, like you go to the restroom and stuff, and it's like already wet, and you didn't even turn on the sink. Like, who forgot to dry off the sink? That's just nasty.
But going to the restroom's different. Like, I hate when you go to a restroom and there's just water on the floor, or just moisture on.
You don't know what that is.
Yeah. No.
That's...
Yeah, like, you know, like, it's just nasty.
I mean, has anybody ever witnessed these kinds of intellectual powerhouses? I mean, these are what these supposedly functional adults are discussing here. I mean, this is crazy stuff. I mean, we're living in idiocracy, are we not?
So if you came over to my house and my sink was wet, would that be a deal breaker for you and I as friends?
I probably wouldn't even use the restroom.
What's wrong with my restroom?
He boycotts
Because
peeing.
just as a pet peeve of mine, you know, certain things just like yuck mode.
I keep a very clean toilet, I should let you know. And there's plenty of toilet paper. The roll is always...
I got that, you know,
Is it dry?
You know those Toto toilets?
No.
My toilet is a shithole.
I wanted you...
Literally, it is literally a hole.
Like I said, a real meeting of the minds. I mean, this guy, this is Will I Am. He's so impressed with that joke that warrants like a handshake. I mean, look at these. These are the kinds of intellectual powerhouses in the entertainment industry. I mean, what is this, like preschool jokes?
I was pretty good. I went to Japan and whatnot, right? And they had these crazy toilets.
Yeah.
And there's Totos with little buttons and heated seats.
Oh, is that the one with the little fountain that comes up and just knows where to go, wherever you are?
And then they got music on that, because like if you make loud noise, it like plays beats. I swear to you, that's real stuff.
Can you turn it into a hit? If you were there at the time and there was music playing, could you make it happen?
I swear to you, you need to get that toilet. It's the shit.
Okay, Lauren, we know you from the Gilmore Girls, but your first entertainment gig was with the US Soccer World Cup.
World Cup Soccer,
World Cup.
Yeah.
Doing what?
I was the World Cup soccer mascot. His name is Striker, and he's a dog.
Striker the dog?
Yeah.
So you were in the Striker the dog mascot suit?
Yes. And I had to, it was like a convention, and so I wore the suit and took pictures with people, and it took, I would say, more than half the day before I realized that when you're wearing a dog suit, you don't have to smile for a picture. Because no one can see you.
Like I said, a real meeting of the minds. So she started her career as the female version of a dog. Interesting.
But you committed.
Yeah, well, I wanted to be a friendly mascot, you know? But it was a terrible job. I'm pretty sure I went home crying, and I had to share the suit, because I guess if you stay in those suits for too long, you start to go kind of crazy or something. And so you could only spend like 15 minutes in it, and then I'd have to share it with somebody else, so it was like sweaty suit sharing day.
Oh.
It wasn't good. It was really bad.
Will I
But at least I made like $100.
Wipes now, having.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. It was a long time ago.
All right, Seth, you're one of Hollywood's most powerful producers, but you're named after a town drunk.
Yes. Yeah.
Which one?
My
and
middle
how is
name...
there a famous one?
What?
How's there a famous town drunk?
Is there a... I don't think there is. Except for maybe Andy Dick, but I mean... no,
So retro, so 90s.
He's the LA town drunk. He's the lovable guy that, you know, he's always falling all over himself, but it's okay because you love him. My middle name is Woodbury, and my grandfather has it, my cousins all have it, all the men on my mom's side of the family have it, and we all thought for the longest time that it was this prestigious New England cultured name that had a great history behind it. And so we asked my grandfather one day, and he goes, "Oh, no, no, no." He goes, "My mother in 1904, when I was born, was just enamored with Woodbury, the town drunk. Thought he was the funniest fucking guy she'd ever met." And he said, named me after him. And so it was passed down through the generations. So we're all named after this drunk, but this turn-of-the-century drunk who probably had like a flipped-up top hat with the,
Yes.
the shoes with the open toes, and maybe goes down to the creek on the weekends with a string tied to the toe and a cork at the other end. And
It's a lost art.
It is.
Being a real hardcore town drunk.
yeah.
It's like gesturing. Whatever happened to that?
I don't know. Somebody needs to bring that back.
Bells on shoes. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be back with more right after this.
So there you have it. Supposedly, Seth MacFarlane, who's best buddies with Palladino, the Palladinos, one of which produced Family Guy. And then he's also allegedly dating the lead in the Gilmore Girls, Lauren Graham. And he's putting on Family Guy skits like this, promoting incest and sodomy. And also guest starring on Gilmore Girls. Is everybody keeping track of this so far? I mean, this Illuminati conspiracy. I mean, this is so out there. I mean, isn't it practically unbelievable at this point? I mean, this is practically unbelievable. And of course, Seth MacFarlane admitting that he's also friends with the Freemason Simpsons creators. Matt Groening, of course, was also named by Virginia Giuffre in the Epstein case. So connected to Epstein as well. And the Hollywood cabal is Matt Groening. Is everybody still following? This is one of the deepest Illuminati conspiracy theories thus far. I mean, this is really, really out there. Even for MindShock, this is kind of out there. But I guess a lot of this is also what one can expect from MindShock, where we upturn every stone and go down every single rabbit hole, revealing none unexplored. So, again, in terms of the writers, I actually think that Palladino's wife, she might not be in the know, because she seems like your classic feminist narcissist. She might have just been writing what she knew. And then her husband might have snuck in some things here and there. So this expose, this self-blowing of the whistle, I mean, again, like I said, I've never seen a mainstream show quite like this do that. But the final point I want to go over in this episode, well, there's actually one more. So in terms of the promotion of gluttony, mockingness, and also just brain rot, because Lorelai is obsessed with pop culture, movies, tabloids, magazines, constantly going on and on about celebrity culture, just brain rot. Now, she mocks it, but she still reads it and consumes it to rot the brain. And this brings me to my next point. What actual moral lessons were taught on this show? Because you have other shows like Seventh Heaven. I mean, there's all these other shows where there were actually moral lessons. Heavy-handed or not, cheesy or not, you could say that there were moral lessons learned. What were the moral lessons in this show? I mean, other than it being a cautionary tale Greek tragedy of what happens when narcissism consumes all, and the feminist agenda is allowed to take its natural course, and you live with 1 foot in the world of luxury and 1 foot outside of it. Because that was really her problem, Rory's problem. I mentioned this in episode 1, because Lorelai actually really was a self-made woman. She only took money for Rory. For herself, she made herself. She was a successful businesswoman. I mean, she paid her dues. She started off as a maid and eventually opened up her own business, which was pretty successful. she is a self-made woman. Now she owes her own psychology to her parents and having two parents, etc., etc. But you can say she's a self-made woman financially. Now Rory actually wants to be that, but she's not, because she always has her grandparents to fall back on, and she never really made the decision to either be the self-made woman like her mother and step away from that world, or to embrace that world and actually use her connections, because then she would have been successful. And we went over that in episode 1. Now, so again, if somebody who has seen this, if there were moral lessons, because it's just a cycle. It's just a cycle, because Rory, being the narcissist that she was trained to be by her mother, she considers Dean hers because he was hers first, and she ends up having an affair with a married man, something she continues to repeat in her adult life with her affair with Logan Huntsberger while he's engaged. And she doesn't even feel bad about it. I mean, that's actually one of the things you have to give Lorelai credit for, because that offended Lorelai's sensibilities. Even though Lorelai's this massive narcissist and just this pretty terrible person in many respects, not in all respects. You know, she definitely helped out her friends here and there. And of course, you know, she would do anything for Rory as long as it didn't offend her own sensibilities, which was their whole rift in whatever season that was when they weren't talking. The Court of Public Opinion says, if you were familiar with Matt Groening in the 70s, his characters in School is Hell, Life is Hell, etc. were very telling. Yeah, he is named in the Epstein files. So yeah, if anybody remembers any actual moral lessons here, I can't think of any. I really can't think of any. I mean, even though it's touted as this feel-good, comfort-style show, I mean, it's a celebration of narcissism, and it's very on the nose, but again, just visit the Gilmore Girls subreddit. The viewers don't know. They're mentally gone. They don't know what they're watching. This is one giant psyop of indulging narcissism and the ego while promoting gluttony and sodomy and infidelity to a certain extent. So, yeah, that's what we have here. I mean, just the level of narcissism of Lorelai is just completely off the charts, and she seems oblivious to it too. Like, if you watch Q&As or panels with Lauren Graham, I don't think she can even consider that possibility due to the real life narcissist that she is, because she's just playing herself. Whereas Alexis Bledel, I don't think I would call her a narcissism. She actually seems like a nice person in the Q&A panels. I didn't pick up any narcissism at all. She's just a great actress. And again, this series was phenomenally acted. You have to give it that. Except for the revival. I mean, that was a little painful. So, yeah, the final point here, and one that makes this show so interesting to dissect, is the "you can't go home again" narrative. And we see this explored in A Year in the Life as well, where she gets offended where people think that she's back to Stars Hollow as a permanent resident. And she says, I'm not back, because she's supposed to be out there being successful. So in the "you can't go home again" narrative, whether you're successful or not, you can't go home again. That's a common theme in literature and media. And something else that should be explored more often, and it isn't, but I talk about it on MINDSHOCK all the time, is small town living versus city living in the scope of happiness, success, and life in general. And I think subconsciously all humans realize this. And I think that's why the show was so popular and successful as well, because there's so much going on a subconscious level here. Because Stars Hollow is a town where people can live and be fulfilled, and yet Rory dreams of going to the city, going to Ivy League colleges and the city outside of this small town that ultimately all corrupts her. She becomes corrupted and ruined in every senses of those words. And just this incredible fall Not that she can't rebound. I mean, who knows? If they do a season 2 of The Revival, I mean, you know, she's pregnant at the end of it. Spoilers again. Massive spoilers. But, yeah, this is not an ideal life. We can put it that way. And obviously, life's not about being ideal. There's always going to be trials and tribulations, etc. But it's one thing to face them with the most amount of tools possible and not. And that's why this is a show that blows the whistle on itself in terms of the Illuminati feminist machine, collapsing Western civilization. So if all humans kind of subconsciously realize that city life is destructive and feeds the ego and just churns out narcissists, I mean, look at all the psychopathic narcissists that are CEOs. I mean, men and women, and you can see, I mean, is that really the type of human you want to be? I mean, look at the type of human Rory was in season 1, and then Rory at Chilton, which still wasn't that bad, but then Rory at Yale, which, I mean, that was the beginning of the end. And then, you know, she goes on to live in New York, London, all these places, and it completely destroys her. Does ultimate fulfillment lie in being a good person? And is the happiness that one can achieve in their life not connected with academia, quackademia, the cult of authority worship, whatever you want to call it, all of these advanced indoctrination facilities supporting statism and corruption? And alleged knowledge that's not even true, because obviously, you know, every couple hundred years, all the information in the textbooks that all these students regurgitate on command like circus animals for treats, aka degrees, well, that all changes every 100, and not even 100 years, that all changes. So is it really worth it to throw away your life for fortune, fame, whatever? I mean, an interesting character, again, the self-blowing of the whistle, is Rory's best friend, and we'll finish with this for this episode. Rory's best friend, Lane, who she actually treats not so well because she's so self-absorbed. But Lane is actually a pretty good friend to her. And her arc, while many found not satisfying, she ends up married with kids and never getting out of Stars Hollow, really. And she ends up taking over her mother's store, working at her mother's antique shop. And some would say that's unfulfilled, and I might partially agree. I mean, she should probably have been running some kind of music shop. Maybe some kind of battle of the band situation where she still performs with Hypalion, her band, so she could still kind of fulfill that musically. But is she more happy and fulfilled? It's still not really known whether she finished college. Her mother was making her go to that religious college, and it's unknown if she even graduated from that one. But who ended up more happy and fulfilled? The one who never left the small town and is happily married with kids? Or the one who went to the Ivy League, who traveled the world, who bedded many suitors? And again, that's why this whole thing is just this Illuminati feminist machine blowing the whistle on itself. And then, of course, it's not that simple, because you have the Seth MacFarlane angle, and you have this this injection of Illuminati programming within the overall show. And this is another case where I believe we can say useful idiots might be involved. And again, I'm just guessing here. I do not know any of these people. I do not claim anything is true or untrue. What is the motto here, of course? The only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure. But I think it's possible. I think it's possible that of the writing team, the Paladinos, Amy was just writing what she knew, what's in her head. And it seems to be the case with this show where, so her husband is involved in Family Guy, possibly Illuminati connected, and maybe she is too. Maybe she's not being used as a useful idiot, but I think it's possible she is. Also, I think there are certain actors in Hollywood who might not be initiated. And I think most of the cast of Gilmore Girls might actually not be. They might not be taking part in these strange satanic Hollywood ceremonies. I mean, I don't know about the Paladinos. They look like they might be. But as far as the rest of the cast, as far as the actual cast, I think it's entirely possible they might not be. If anybody was, obviously Lauren Graham would be the top pick, especially with her alleged romantic entanglement with Seth MacFarlane, who's obviously dialed into the Illuminati quite closely. But the rest of the cast of characters, I mean, clearly there are many actors, especially that haven't reached the upper echelons of Hollywood, that might not be involved in any of this stuff. Like, that would be really disappointing if Alexis Bledel was actually involved in any of the shadiness of Hollywood. But I actually think it's possible she's not, because even in her recent interviews, she just comes across as so genuine. Like, we talked about this in one of the live Q&As with Charlie Sheen and a lot of these actors, that when they're younger, they have this light in their eyes and it goes out. I'm not sure I could say that Alexis Bledel's light in her eyes is out. She seems like she's still genuine and possibly still a really good person. I mean, I don't know her personally, but yeah, I don't think all is lost, and I don't think every single individual in Hollywood is all part of the Epstein-Diddy shenanigans. But those are the thoughts here. The Court of Public Opinion says, is it worth watching? Is the show worth watching? I would say yes, because one, it's well made and very well acted, and just because all of the themes that cross over, I mean, you get practically all of them in this show. You just have to know what you're watching. And again, I've never seen anything in the mainstream like this that blows the whistle on itself. Again, I don't think this is revelation of the method. I mean, you could argue that there's some of that, but I think if it's unintentional. I think it's just a case of writing what they knew, and that's simply the natural course that feminism takes, and how Western civilization collapses, and all of these brilliant, young, genuine, good-hearted kids are absolutely destroyed by college and big city life. And again, this is like a cautionary tale, a modern-day Greek tragedy. So that's it for now. There's plenty more to explore here, believe it or not. We're just scratching the surface. But, yeah, if you want to catch up on the series, I probably won't do an immediate episode 3. I just wanted to tie up a few things that we didn't get to in episode 1. Now that we've kind of tied up a lot of that, it'll probably be a little bit before I get episode 3 out. And, obviously, plenty of other series here that will have new episodes coming up shortly. So I hope everybody enjoyed another edition of the MindShock podcast. You want to help support the podcast, help logic and reason return to a world where it's quickly going extinct? You can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Like and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.